What up, people? My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Plan and Traffic, and we do this every Thursday night with the fellas and super guests. So if you have any ideas on our topic tonight, how to make parts, or have you ever made parts for your vehicle because you couldn't find it, or maybe you're just being cheap like me and don't want to pay for it. So that's what we're talking about tonight. If you're in Facebook, we're live on YouTube as well. Please leave your comments in the comment section and we can see them here in the chat. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Another day in the big city.
Just trying to stay cool.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful night. I mean, I know the bugs are going to start getting me, but I got my candle tonight, so hopefully I can keep them off.
I don't know. When I lived in Texas, the mosquitoes use that as a mating call. You'd light up one of those citronella candles, and the mosquitoes would come swarming over. You know, they're like, "Good God!"
Yeah, I think they put something in it to attract it, so you think it's working. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the opposite.
I think you're right.
That's probably true.
Try not to be that cynical. Come on, you know, they're not like that, really, right?
Yeah, who knows, man? These companies.
Yeah.
So we people in the Facebook and YouTube. We were talking earlier before we came on just now about diesel using corn oil or vegetable oil in your diesels. So if anybody has any experience with that, please put it in the chat. We'd like to know what you've done, or if you know anybody has done it. So Papa Squirrel, go ahead. You were saying that your buddy was using it?
He was taking used vegetable oil, straining it through T-shirts that he got from Goodwill, and mixing it with, I think it was 4 gallons of oil and 1 gallon of diesel, and burning it straight in his Mercedes. And also in his motorhome that he had. He had a Cummins engine in it. And we used to call it the Frying Dutchman.
It smelled like French fries.
It smelled, people would go, "Where's McDonald's?" Over there.
Yeah.
But it seemed to work. I mean, I'd be a little scared on a newer engine because the injectors have such fine holes that, mine specifically says don't use
biodiesel.
Now, that's all I can get out here in California because everything you buy at the diesel pump, it's not pure diesel anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's mixed up with something.
Wow. Yeah, I looked into it back when I had my trucking company, and it made me nervous. You know what I mean? I was like, wow.
Yes.
If I put it in a truck, man, and it breaks down, I'm out. You know what I mean?
I might try some later on in my little Volkswagen diesel, my Jetta. Because, I mean, come on now. I got an engine that big in that thing.
Yeah.
And it's a direct injection. There's no electronics or anything like that. But
I had a 82 or 83 Audi 4000 diesel, and it got to the point with that particular car that I was running waste oil and kerosene.
Wow.
Really?
And I mean, it had gotten to the point with the car, and who knows how many miles it had on it because the odometer stopped, and I drove it, and I got the weirdest looks when I was at places because I'd pop the trunk open and I'd pull out a waste oil container and throw some in, and then I would just put 1 gallon of kerosene in it. But other than that, that car ran forever. That thing ran forever like that. And
probably super clean.
Well, like I said, I just, when I was turning wrenches, I always had waste oil or especially transmission fluid if you ever have a diesel that's dead and you're trying to, if you ever run one out of gas, the easiest way to start them is with the transmission fluid, because it flows and lights a lot faster, and you won't burn up a ring gear or a starter with it. Some people do that when they crank them so long where they don't have any way of priming to get the air out. But that's what we used to use on the old Mercedes. They come in, from being run out, and you take the fuel filter canister off, you fill it up with ATF, you put it on, and that thing will just fire right up. And I think the biggest problem going back to the vegetable oil stuff was it had to be preheated. You had a lot of the conversion kits where that you ran it on diesel, and then once you got to a certain temperature, you switched it over to the vegetable oil thing, and that was always a problem because technically, diesel will almost run on piss water. It may not sound the greatest, but it will run on almost anything as long as you can combust it.
Yeah, I think it's
compression,
the lubrication part of it too.
Yeah.
Yes. Rudolph Diesel designed his engine to run on farm products, peanut oil, corn oil, whatever else, because he was trying to think of a motor for the farmer that he could raise his own fuel, because in the early days, it was extremely expensive the way I understand it. And he was actually trying to get something that the people could use. So as long as you've got oil, some sort of lubrication, I don't see where it'd be any problem. But I'm scared of trying something.
Yeah,
I had that once on my old tool truck. I was in a part of town where there was no diesel for really anywhere around. Nobody had any diesel. And I was limping on fumes, and I rolled in and got 3 gallons of cooking oil and poured it right down in the tank. And I was like, I hope this thing gets me home or gets me to a gas station, because I'm going to be really pissed off. And it didn't run great, but it got me to where I needed to go, and filled it up with diesel and got on home. But I was in a really bad part, so
that's cool.
It'll run.
Now I one time got biodiesel. I was real low, and I wanted to try out the biodiesel, so I put I forget how many gallons I put in it, but it cleaned out my system. I blew a lot of smoke at first, and it ran a lot better, I think, too, with that biodiesel.
Yeah, it's hard
not to find biodiesel now.
Is it?
Yeah,
here in California.
On the newer stuff, you got to be careful, but because like I said, but we used to run ATF a lot, and that cleaned out a lot of injector stuff and cleaned the pumps out. Like I said, it's a very high detergent. You got to be careful. And that's just like during the wintertime. I didn't do it with my new truck. My old truck, I used to do it, but I would run about anywhere between 3 to 5 gallons of kerosene mixed in with the diesel, and it kept it from gelling up, because it's just a finer thing, and never had the waxing or the buildup or any of that stuff that a lot of the other guys would have. So there are easy ways around it, but sometimes you get a little scared, because if anybody finds out, but if you have a warranty issue, and if you have a warranty issue and they find out that you did something that isn't kosher to their specs, or they find their way out, they're going to get their way out. It may not harm anything originally, but they got you did something that you're not supposed to.
One of the guys, when I was in the Air Force mobile maintenance, was telling me the only difference between diesel fuel number 1 or whatever the diesel is, winter diesel, and kerosene is kerosene. That it's the same shit.
Yeah.
Except you need more lubrication
Right.
because there's no lubrication in winter diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kerosene is just a very fine, refined version of diesel,
Mm-hmm.
which diesel is a byproduct of gasoline.
Right.
So, but it's kind of funny when they were using kerosene for all the lamps and lanterns, they were dumping all everything else out there in the Ohio River and up there, and all that gas, they didn't know what to do with it until Henry Ford came along and started producing motor or, the automobile, widely so where they could use gas, So
I don't know if you guys watched this. It's Fox. I got the app the other day, and they got a series on there, "What Made America Great," and it's
yeah,
going through like the different like Ford,
yep.
all the different things
The
that.
men that made America great or whatever. They
Yeah.
went
Well,
through all the
that
rock.
was a series, "The Men That Made America Great." That was on Discovery.
Yeah.
But this is how America. Wait, what did I say it was? How America was great, or I
What
don't know
made
why
America
America's
great?
great, something like that. But
Yeah.
yes, on Fox Nation, it's pretty good. I've been watching He has nine seasons,
Yeah.
and it's going through everything in the country, showing stuff what happened and how it happened, and
Yeah.
where we are today from it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Some of that stuff is really crazy. And, but, that's, like I said, if you, you could take animal fat
Mm-hmm.
and, melt it down. If you get it melted and get it warm enough or hot enough, they'll burn through a diesel. I get a lot of crap because I have a diesel, and I think if it was coming to the end of the world, I'd still want a diesel because I know you can
You can get
only, like
home.
I said, I poured with that old Audi that I had, dude. I poured everything down in that gas tank to burn, and it either ran super great or it ran like dog shit. But man, I tell you one thing,
Didn't stop.
it didn't stop, and the funny part about that car. It had gotten. I had taken that car to. No, that was that was my other Audi that I did. That one just finally stopped, and it was gone. My other Audi was it jumped timing on the way back from Delaware. I mean, from Dover. I went to the race in August, and it was funny. It was the ugliest car I had. It was 14 different colors. The wife wouldn't even ride in the car, and of course being a diesel, and they had this big metal plate cover that went over the timing belt, and of course it broke, so it rattled real bad. And of course one day I took it off, chucked it in the corner, so the timing belt was exposed,
Oh.
and went up there to the races in August. This is back when it used to be 500 miles. So, we're all cooked like, a baked potato out there. And get back to the car and turn it on. And the AC worked excellent in this car. I mean, it shot ice cubes at you. It was like you're in the Arctic. And so I'm driving home, and everybody's driving by me, pointing at the car, pointing. And I'm like, yeah, F you, man. So it's ugly, and, then I realized that's when the AC compressor caught on fire.
Oh,
and the belt burned, and the belt went into the timing belt. The V belt went into the timing belt.
Oh God!
And all of a sudden, that's when it jumped, and I bent a couple valves, and everybody's pointing, and I'm like, oh my God. So I pulled over, and a good buddy of mine, always said, when you broke something, either, you didn't turn it off or you just let it roll because it was less you had to walk, So I left the car running, and it's running on 1.5 cylinders or whatever. Sounds like a construction utility sign, diesel thing. And the it's on fire. The compressor's on fire now. So I knew not to open the hood. So I'm throwing dirt and throwing everything I could find underneath on the side of the road and get the fire out. And I was like, well, I'm just going to drive it till it stops. I mean, nobody's going to come get me and then, have AAA or anything like that. So got in the car and started driving, and it made it all the way home. But when it was knocking and banging and making every noise that you can imagine. But when I pulled it in and opened the hood, the motor was so red that you could see the pistons move up and down.
Damn.
And
wow.
She made it all the way home. And my wife goes, "What's that smell?" And I said, "It's the car." And I said, "When I turn it off, it ain't going to start back up again." And she's like, "Thank God, that thing's So I turned it off, and for hours you could just hear that thing going, creaking from the aluminum and metal expanding and contracting. But she was locked up. Best $75 I ever spent.
Hey, Ray, sorry.
I figured I'd get your attention one way or the other.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Fellas, I had Ray couldn't get on because they had to send him a code, but they sent it to me to send to him.
The program logged me out. So, yeah.
Troublemaker.
Yeah. Well, they knew you were on, so
they're
checking credentials at the door is what it is. And you're like, you know him? Yeah, we need to see some ID.
Trying to keep you out.
So, Ray, we were talking about throwing illegal stuff in the car so we can drive.
Throwing illegal stuff in the car so we could drive.
For diesel.
Oh, okay.
Making biodiesel or mixing our own fuel.
Well, it was funny. Just today, I had helped my wife. We made a lot of fried stuff the past few days, onion rings, French fries, and it was time to get rid of the oil. And she's holding the bag so I could pour it out of the fryer. And I said, if I had that biodiesel car, I could be burning this stuff.
Yep.
We had a guy come into the show years ago. He had a Mercedes that he changed over. And he had the whole setup in the trunk. It was all set up real nice where he'd open the deck lid, and he had a couple of hangers. He put the big bag on there, the big conical bag. You just pour the oil into it, and it would just filter through and fill his tank. And he had a separate fuel gauge. And I said, I said, see, what I would do is I would take that gauge apart, take the glass off, and instead of where it had like a gas pump, I would have put a chicken. Really get people wondering what the hell you were doing. But I don't think you went that far.
Well, Robert, when he was running his Mercedes, which was, I think, a 65 or so, it wasn't biodiesel because he didn't process it. He just took used vegetable oil, ran it through a filter of T-shirts. He didn't even bother to try to run it through a good filter. The only thing was he had to change his filter to the injectors about every 500 or 600 miles.
Yeah, well, that's what this guy did. He was getting cooking oil from restaurants, and he said the best stuff he ever got, if he could get it, was at the Chinese restaurants. That was the best, cleanest oil. The Mexican places were kind of sketchy, but he'd take whatever he could get.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I've heard that about Chinese restaurants.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm wondering is now with diesel at out here we hit $7 a gallon. I'm gonna cry when I go up to Oregon this August to do a Ren Fair up there. Half of my profit's gonna go into the fuel tank.
Oh yeah, you don't need to tell me.
You have to
not you. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to second guess what you're going to do and where you're going to go.
I know exactly where we're going to go. And then we park the truck, and then we take our little Volkswagen Jetta diesel that gets 50 miles a gallon, and it gets 50.
Yeah,
because we tried to get less than 50 with it one time. My wife was dogging it. She was driving it hard, shifting it hard, everything. It was getting 50 miles a gallon. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Right. What year Jetta?
83.
83. Wow. We had my dad had an 89. I think it was 89. 88. Was an 88 Jetta GL diesel 5-speed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the ugliest brown in the world. It was cantaloupe brown. God, that thing was ugly. But I'm going to tell you, like you said, Papa Squirrel, that thing, it was 52 and 0.8 mile. My dad was one from the generation of having the little book in the glove box that, you know, with everything all written down. And he would, he'd get mad because we take the car out and forget to write the mileage stuff down. So that threw off. But yep, there you go. Yep.
With all, and this is from the car I just sold.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm keeping it.
It was 52. It was like 52.8 miles to the gallon was the thing. And I would rag the snot out of that car and it would be the same thing. 52 point. I was like, that was the number. If it was today, you would have thought that Volkswagen tricked the computer to print that, you know, like, you know, they had the other problem. Mm-hmm. So, and then I got to the point because I later got that car, you know, he gave the car to me, and I got to the point where I was trying to beat that mileage. I was doing turning it off, coasting down the hill, you know, trying to beat that 52.8 miles to the gallon. And it just, that's, you know, it was right in there. I think the best I ever got was like 55, you know.
45 pounds of air in the tires.
Yeah.
Hey, Papa Squirrel, do you tow that behind your truck?
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering the same thing.
We tow it behind the motorhome because we have one time been stuck without a vehicle, and we had to rent one. And I figured out that it's much cheaper to tow that behind the motorhome than it is to keep renting one.
Yeah.
Because it just adds up. Now, when we drive from Arizona to Texas to visit my friend, we rent a car. Mm-hmm. 2 reasons. One, I don't want to take the little diesel and put 2,000 miles on it just to go to Texas. The other is it doesn't do 80 and 85 miles an hour. So the 55 is pretty much the limit. You start hitting 65 and you can hear things in that motor moving. At least I swear you do. But so we get, and this gives me an excuse to drive brand new cars, you know, and find out which ones I don't want to ever own.
Does that have a manual? Does that have a manual choke down on the side that you pull out on that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one to roll coal on. That's when it's nice and warm out. You can roll by, and when everybody's riding their bicycle through the park, you just pull that out, and that rolls a lot of coal, man. They get pissed off. Don't ask me how I know that kind of stuff.
I won't tell anybody.
I like renting cars when I travel because if it breaks down, they'll bring another one right away.
Yes. And when you're out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, people think there's nowhere in California. You get out in that Mojave out there in Texas, I don't think it's a Mojave. I don't know what desert it is out there, but between El Paso and San Antonio, it is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm cruising along in this rental car. I don't remember what it was, doing about 85. And I see a Texas Highway Patrol coming up the road. And I think, oh, shit, I'm in trouble. He passed me like I was sitting still.
Yeah.
So I looked over at Debbie and said, I don't think the speed limit out here is enforced very much.
He had somewhere to go.
He did. He didn't have his lights on, but he had somewhere to go.
Yeah, they had to cover. They have so much ground to cover in such a short time. So.
All right. So who's made some cool car parts when they couldn't buy them or couldn't afford them?
You know, come to think of it, I don't think I've made any car parts in a lot of years because I'm rich now. I get money.
It's not about being rich. It's not. You know, Lewis and I talked about this earlier, and we kind of agree. Sometimes it's about being cheap or poor. But a lot of times it's about just the inventiveness of it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many brackets and mounting things I've made.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I've made a couple for my old tool truck, because when they had a belt set up for the extra, for the AC compressor in the back, and the bearing blew out. The bearing blew up, and I ended up losing part of the pulley and everything. And of course, I called the manufacturer up, and I'm like, "Yeah, I lost this the bearing. The pulley for this. The bearing came apart, and I need a new one." They said, "Oh, well, which one do you have?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean, which one do I have?" And they said, "Do you have a number on it?" And I said, "No, you didn't listen. It's gone. I don't know where it is." And they're like, "Oh, well, it depends on when the truck was being made and what parts were available and who we got it from, but there's a handful of different ones."
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what I kind of had." Well, they all look similar. And I'm like, "Okay." So I ended up, I don't know, but I was in one of my shops, and they had a older Toyota pickup truck that they were putting a motor in, and the adjustment was very similar to that. And I was like, "What are you doing with that?" And he goes, "Oh, we're just going to throw the motor away." And I said, do you need any of that stuff up front? And they said no. And I said, "Okay, can I take it?" And I took everything and kind of cut and welded and made a new bracket and pulley adjustment for it.
Yeah.
And I guess really the only other time on my Scout, it didn't have a kickdown lever. It has a 727 torque flight in automatic. And I had noticed it never kicked down into first. And the guy goes, "Yeah, you need it had a manual, it had a rod that did that, kick it down." And I went out to this junkyard, and I must have taken, I don't know, out of 15 old Chryslers, I took all the linkage and all the pivot points and everything, and came home and sat out there, and it was like a box of Tinker Toys,
Uh-huh.
made a whole linkage. And then I got the kick down to work, and because of the weight of the Scout, and it's got a 345 motor in it, V8, and with the torque flight. First time I hit to kick down to go into first, the torque from everything shifted the truck over into the next lane. So I said, "Oh, I don't think I ever needed that."
That's why the last guy omitted it. Lewis, I'm sure you use some parts that aren't automotive to make automotive stuff, right?
Yeah. Like Brian, I think a lot of people fabricate brackets because you get the wrong stuff. But I just did it on the Toyota. I got a Toyota Avalon 2000, and the gas door broke off. The hinge is like real chintzy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around. I can buy the door. I can buy everything but that bracket.
Yeah.
So I had to make it. So I got some sheet metal out and made it. Welded it in there, and it didn't fall off yet. So I guess I'm good.
I had a couple when I was putting my car together. I had Pontiac uses a tube that it's got a 90-degree tab that goes onto one of the head bolts, has a stud on top. Put a nut on it, and it goes down between the two middle cylinders on the driver's side, and that's where the battery cable goes down to the starter. So the tube kind of insulates from the exhaust. Problem is now, and you got to put the solenoid wires through there too. Problem was, I'm now using like 00 battery cable, so it wouldn't fit. So I'm like, damn, I need a bigger tube. And I'm looking around, and this is where, so I could tell my wife, this is why I don't throw stuff out.
Yep.
So I'm looking around. I said, I know I got something here. And there was this 4-foot length section of tubing that was bigger. And I was able to cut it. And I made a 90-degree bracket, welded it on, drilled the hole. And then I even took the end of the tube and I put I think I used a ball for a trailer hitch, put it into the tube and slammed it so it would flare it out, painted it black, and put it in. And what that tube was, it was from a beach umbrella. It was like the second piece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why we keep this crap. And you'd never know by looking at it. No one will ever know it's not an original part. But just yesterday, I started a project. I want to mount a vacuum gauge. Brian, we were talking about this last week. I got a couple of different vacuum gauges. So I want to mount one in my FJ. I was going to put it to my left on the flat panel, but I need some kind of a mounting thing. So I found a piece of PVC. It was a 45. It started as this, a piece of PVC that's like a 45L. Now it's 3 pieces.
Yeah.
So I cut it on the bandsaw, and I'm going to use this piece here.
Yeah.
So that angle part is going to fit straight, so it'll let the gauge be turned. The problem is I was sitting out there for like an hour reaming this out. I'm still not all the way there, but I'll get it in there.
Oh yeah.
And I may have to glue that on, but so again, plumbing parts,
You don't have a Dremel, do you?
I was using I do Popsicle, but what I started using was a sanding. I have these sanding cones, and the other ones are like an inch long sanding disc. That wasn't going anywhere. I channeled Brian from last week. I put a cutting burr in the die grinder.
Yeah.
To show you a picture, it looked like a snow globe exploded on me. My tent was filled with plastic. My hands and arm, my leg, my whole body was covered with this stuff. I was like, holy shit. And I'm still not done. I still have more to go.
You know what the scariest part, or the part that drives me crazy when you do something like that? You got something that's so close and you're like, oh, it's just a little bit. And by the time you're done, you've taken so much, and you're still like you said, you're not even there yet. And you're like, how much did I really take off, or what am I doing wrong?
I did take a lot. And I tell you, when I look through here at that next bridge, I can see light through it. So some areas are a lot closer than others.
Yeah.
And now I got to be like precision to get that last 10,000ths off. I was thinking what I needed is like the carpenters have those sanding drums that come up through the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would probably work if I had like a 2-inch sanding drum. But so now I'll go out and spend like $300 on a sanding table to make one part.
Well, too bad you're not my next door neighbor, because I have some of those drums.
Yeah. I know this happens all the time. I'll show you my best failed part, and we talked about it. I told you, I think I talked about it last week. I made an air cleaner out of a ceiling fan, and this is it. With the Hunter ceiling fan, all the work went down here. This is a Weber carburetor. That's the Weber carburetor pattern perfectly. I took a piece of copper tubing for the PCV tube, glazed everything, and it fit on that car perfect. But the hood wouldn't close because of this little rise right here. Yeah. So this goes now under the workbench. I put 20 hours into that.
Yeah, here's the thing. You start making some lock and make that. And before you know it, you got 8 hours in it. And then you start realizing that the part only costs $12. You got 8 hours in making it.
Well, you see, I figured to have a custom part, a one-off, you can't buy it. So
No.
Whatever you put into it. I mean, I have other stuff on my car. I took an MSD box and I cut like 2 inches out of the middle of it and then welded it back together to cover a water valve because it matches my valve cover. So, to me, it's all about just keeping your hands busy. I did a lot of that at work. I used to go, I would take it in and play with it there. But I never minded wasting. I don't really call it a waste of time. I call it a honing my skills.
Yeah.
Because you just you're tinkering and you're playing around. And a lot of stuff that you're doing, like we said, a little bit too much in one spot, and this thing's going in the garbage. It's going to be like, okay, what's plan B?
Yeah.
Well, our '03 Jetta has a sunroof. I don't like sunroofs. I've never liked sunroofs. Personally, I'd rather weld them up and smooth it out and make it solid. The damn thing started leaking.
Right.
The tube that it comes from the front of the car down the pillar and exits in the front
Fender.
door panel. I mean, a door panel.
Behind the
but
fender,
area-
right? Should be behind
Yeah.
the fender usually.
And we're looking at this going, what the hell? Who designed this?
They're all
And the trouble is, you can't easily replace that tube because there's no
No.
way to get to it.
No, you're right.
So my wife is sitting there cussing and looking at it and cussing it. She goes into the garage and grabs our hemostats.
Mhm.
Some of them we have are, well, let's just ignore the USAF marking on them.
Yeah.
So we took, and she
Yeah.
found a piece of tubing. I don't even know what it was she was using. And she got up there and she managed to jam it into the one in the sunroof itself, thread it down through the column, which that was the fun part, trying to thread it through that damn column. And she got it out there. And once she got it out there and we figured out it worked, let's just say, what not JB Weld, but E6000. We used a lot of glue to hold that in place.
Mhm.
And it's been there for about 2 years now.
Okay, so your tube actually contoured itself up so it caused a kink or a log jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, and you look at that and go, you bastards, why don't you make it easy to replace?
Right.
Right.
No.
No.
Engineers, they just needed to fit.
Or use something more semi-rigid that won't, bend and fold over on itself.
Yeah.
It amazes me the stupidity of engineers. Actually, I think it's bean counters because
Yep.
that's what an engineer told us one time, because I was at the auto transmission place getting my transmission worked on, and the guy said, we had a GM engineer break down and we had to fix his car. I said, you've got a captive audience there.
Yeah.
And they were discussing about why didn't they just take, a brass part instead of a plastic, because it would last a little longer. And the engineer said, we design them that way. We design them for longevity and brass parts. The bean counters take and substitute. Well, it'll last a warranty.
Right.
And that's all they care about.
That's it.
And at the same
Sometimes
time, at the same time, it's 2 or 3 cents or even a half a cent that they save, and if they made 1 million of them, that's the amount of money that they.
Yeah.
I gotta say, with working on now, I never really appreciated. I shouldn't say that. I've always appreciated the older cars, but working on some of the newer cars now in the last few years, I've really learned to appreciate the older cars. Yeah, they're bigger, they're heavier. The materials are like 10 times the size and weight they needed to be in some cases, but they on the other hand, they would take a hit. You could drive over a curb and not total your car. You could do stupid things and get away with live another day. With the newer cars, one tap and the thing is gone. But again, it's all for weight savings and money, for the parts.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to come out with new tools too. They got to sell you new tools or something like that. For freaking Audi brake calipers, I'll never let that one go. They just made the hex, I don't know, 10, 20 millimeters deeper, so your standard hex driver didn't fit. I was like, well, I fixed them. I took the driver out of the socket holder. They had the roll pin, dropped in, and just grabbed enough. Said 20 millimeters.
Relax.
And I talked to oh yeah, well, Brian, you told me first, and then I saw the Snap-on guy in the shop. Oh yeah, no, we got special drivers for the Audis. I'm like, I bet you do. You can keep them too. I mean, if you work on them every day, it's another story. You got to have it.
Yeah.
you were talking about Audis. It's unbelievable how bad they are. Like everybody I know that had an Audi or has one, they have problems, like major problems. Not like, you know, simple stuff. It's always the motors or trannies.
Yeah.
And it goes back from the old ones to the new ones.
It's the well, you have the degree of how complicated they are. I mean, they just don't take an easy approach, you know, and it's gotta, you know, it's the latest and greatest, and you know, they have to. It's kind of like, you know, when they brought back the Cabriolet or the convertible and the Porsches, you know, they just couldn't pick one type of system to work with. They had to use all of them. They had to have a manual part to unlock it. Then you had to have electric, you know, they had the cables to move it one way. Then you had the hydraulic piston in the back to work this. And then, you know, so you had to take and just overly compensate and completely aggravate the whole system, because if one thing doesn't work, then the whole system's out. And
that was one of the things that was wrong when I got my Audi 5000, the sunroof. And I bought this car from an Audi mechanic, and there was more stuff wrong with it. And I said, "Who the hell is this guy? You know, was it oil changes? Electrical things were wrong." And I fixed everything. One of them was, "Don't open the sunroof. You won't get it closed." I'm like, "Okay, all right." You know, case point. And then I dug in, found some literature, and I got it open, and then I just went through it. And like you said, I remember that, this is years ago, but I remember that thing being like a mechanical nightmare. I'm thinking, German engineers are pretty damn good, but who the hell designed this? The engineers' wives? For every system, there was another system, like Brian said, and then there was a complementary system. And and it's got to lift up, and it's got to go back. Like, holy shit! Who the hell?
They had. I walked into a shop, and they had.
And they use little screws, little tiny screws.
Yeah. Ugh. They had a Porsche in there, and the top didn't work, you know. And the guy goes, "Hey, you used to work on these," and I said, "Dude, you can't afford me." And he's like, "Well, you know, what do you think?" And I said, You're going to have to start with the basics, and you know, you have to measure this out, and you got to check, you know, this micro switch, because if this isn't working, the whole system's not going to work. You just can't, you know, most people just get in there and start taking stuff apart. And you know, I got a phone call one time, a guy said his top didn't work. And I said, all right. I said, is it in the closed position and locked? He said, yeah. I said, well, just bring it up here. Don't touch it. And, you know, of course, half the day goes by and he hasn't shown up. And all of a sudden I see him roll in and he's got the top down. And I said, oh, so did you get it working? He goes, oh, well, I was reading in the manual, if you need to, you know, emergency open or close the top, you just take these two bolts out. And I was like, you didn't do that, dude. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, it made a lot of noise when I did that. And I said, yeah, you pulled the bolts out of the transmission for the top, and all the gears fell down to the bottom. So it made it manual now. And he goes, oh, well, can you still fix my top? And I said, dude, you're paying.
Yeah.
Because I got to take that apart and set that all up and start all, you know, and all it would have been, maybe it was, most of the time, it was either the handbrake micro switch or the one that actually locked the lever. You know, they get slammed shut and they would move so they wouldn't make contact. But, you know, again, get in there and life of luxury. Oh, I had to have my top down. It was a beautiful day.
I got a manual top.
Yeah, well, it cost you. So,
well, on that note, you remember a while ago we had Matt Stone on the radio show, and we were talking about the Bullet Mustangs, and Steve, he wrote a book about Steve McQueen, so that's what we were talking about. But we went on this whole thing about the Bullet Mustang. I just requested another book from CarTech, and it ends up Matt wrote it. So he wrote to me today, and it's all Porsche special editions.
Oh,
so we're gonna have him on the show probably. Yeah, I guess I gotta get the book first, so maybe next month. But so we'll be talking Porsches. I'll see if I can get him on here too.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Nice.
And then on that note, when we're talking about the Mustang, not the Bullet Mustang, but the Mustang, I was talking to my officer buddy today, and I was like, hey, whatever happened to all those Mach-E Mustangs that the county bought to be police cars. And he's like, yeah, well, they don't hold up to all the electronics in the car.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's great. I'm glad they're sitting someplace getting ready to be upgraded because by the time they put all the computer, all the lights, LED,
Right.
he said that they don't the electronic, the electric part of the battery there just doesn't hold up the rest of the stuff. So
Sure.
Wow.
So jumping back
we
to
did that
the
with the
last
county.
topic again, Lewis, this week I have a guy, he's a local appraiser. We've had him on the show for many years. Steve Linden. He does appraising and he does a lot of stuff. He's involved with car sales over here and overseas. And if you want to, I can ask him if he wants to come on a Thursday night with us here.
Yeah, for sure.
Super knowledgeable guy. And I got another guy lined up. Who the hell was that? I was going to ask you about him too. But all right, I'll remind you. I'll ask him first.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, my wife asked me to ask you guys a question.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, no, it ain't me yet. In the older cars, and we're talking about 80s or 90s or whatever, what's one of the best cars to rebuild that has the least amount of electronics?
From the 80s or 90s?
Even 70s.
Well, now you're in a whole other ballpark.
Yeah. You jumped a big ballpark from the 80s, 70s.
The early 80s stuff was still the hybrid systems where some cars still had carburetors, and then they went to the feedback carburetors before they went to fuel injection.
Oh, God, no, not a feedback carburetor. Because a friend of mine had a Chrysler with one of those.
Right.
Holy mackerel.
But you could convert that to a regular carburetor easy enough. That's easy enough. And you don't have any of the computer stuff for the, for fuel injection. So if that's the route you want to go, you could go right up until the early to mid 80s.
And the only thing you're going to have there would be the module for the distributor, the electronic ignition,
right?
And that's basically that's really about all because you still have the manual fuel pump,
right?
And other than the only thing that really sucked for those cars during that time period would be all the climate control bull crap, for.
That's all the vacuum stuff. Yeah.
That's all that vacuum
right.
And they got really carried away with that type of stuff in those cars. But, if you converted that carburetor over, all you got really left is electronics in a distributor.
You just reminded me that 64 Caddy I was working on at the shop. It's still around. For some reason, that car likes me and nobody else. And I'll tell you why. I had to get it running. The engine had been rebuilt like 25 years ago, was never started or ran. So I had the first startup on it, which was, I was wearing garlic. But when it was at the shop, even, the dashboard isn't in the car. So that the ignition switch is just hanging with the key. And, I just thought I had to put a neutral safety switch in out of a Chevy because I couldn't find the right one for the car. But then I got called in one day, and the guy at the shop says, "Ray, you got to come down here. That the Caddy won't start." And I was like, "What do you mean it won't start? Yesterday I was just working on it. I just started it probably 50 times." I says, "The battery connected. I disconnected it when I left." No, the battery's connected. You turn the key, it doesn't do anything. All right, I'll come down and take a look. So I walk over, I check the battery, I put a voltmeter on it. There's voltage. I said, "Okay." I went inside, and the guy who was there, he doesn't work there anymore, Derek. He was saying how, I tried with the key. I wouldn't start. So I went in, I turned it, and it cranked. And he looked at me like, "What?" And then it started. "What did you do?" I said, "I turned the key. That's all I did." So then I went to their other shop, and the same thing happened again. And I came down, and it started. Just 2 days ago, it's at the owner's brother's house. And he sent the carburetor, the main body had a leak. So he sent it out, had it rebuilt, and he got it back. And I went over there with the shop owner to put the carburetor on. So I did. Mike goes into the car because I'm gonna hit it with the starting fluid to prime it and get it started. He goes inside and says, "I don't believe it. This thing doesn't work. It's dead." He goes, "The battery I'm like, you know what? I had disconnected it, but it's connected again. The battery is hot. He goes, I'm getting nothing. I'm like, all right. I grabbed the voltmeter. I checked. Now we have battery voltage. He's like, I don't know. Like, you want to take a look at it? So I did. I went and I checked to make sure nobody screwed with any of the wiring that was under there. And then I took the key and turned it, and the car cranked and started. He looked at me like, what? And like I was, as believe me, I'm as surprised as you are, because I'm apparently the only person who can start this car. So sometimes there's good gremlins and bad gremlins, but if this guy thinks I'm going to be riding with him all the time, he's
yeah, ride the trunk.
Unless he has some good donuts or something.
My dad had a 78 Pontiac Model J. I should have kept the car. It was in excellent shape, really looked good, dual exhaust 350, air conditioning, of course, because my dad never owned a car from 1960 on that didn't have air conditioning.
I didn't have one that did.
Well, Dad,
I did, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Dad said he wasn't going to live in Texas without air conditioning.
Yeah.
And that car would float down the highway. Oh my God, it'd float.
Yeah.
But it had one great anti-theft device in it. It was hell to start unless you pulled the key up and turned it.
Oh.
If you just tried to turn the key, it wouldn't move.
Did he keep a lot of keys on his key ring?
No, somebody might have, but he didn't.
That's a killer for the ignition for the lock cylinders. It puts that constant pressure on it.
Yeah.
I've seen ignitions not work because of that.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was funny because I know that if you'd ever tried to steal that car with the key in the ignition, it wouldn't do you any good unless you had to lift it up. And you had to lift it pretty good and then turn it.
I was just talking to a buddy of mine out at the UD, and we were saying how we remember back in the day, one of the common things we did with our friends, we would just like take the keys for our cars and try them in everybody else's car. And they would work a lot of times. You know, you get like maybe 2 out of 5 cars your key would work in, and theirs would work in yours. And it was, I guess they only had a few key blanks back then, you know, back in the 60s and not the 70s. This was like 60s through the, when the keys changed. They had to be the octagonal and round keys.
They did that into the 90s.
Yeah.
Like I think on the line, I think it was every 10 cars had the same key.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something like, there was only something like 1,800 cut difference on those keys. It's not very much because my dad had a 76 Buick and a buddy of mine had a 72 Cutlass. And I could use my dad's keys in my buddy's car.
I found that, well, the Cutlass probably had, his cylinder was probably worn a little more. The cars with the worn cylinders were easier.
Yeah.
Always easier to get
I have, when I was repoing, I repoed Toyota and Lexus. And I have a big ring of Toyota keys. And you can't believe how many Toyotas I got with these keys.
Yeah.
I still have them. I just seen them the other day in a box. But I also, when I was repoing, I went to conferences and they had classes for lock picking and all that stuff. So I learned a lot about the locks. And Fords are notorious, like from, I want to say 95 down. Fords are real. I mean, you can start them with almost any key.
Yeah. We had I don't know if I still have it. Might be but I had a key that I shaved the tops down a little bit. You know, I rounded the corners on the key, and I can't tell you how many cars I got in and started with that.
Speaking of repoing, this was kind of funny because that same day we went through that carburetor, the guy's brother says, well, yeah, there was a problem though. His brother, the carburetor was in the car. Problem was the doors were locked and the key was in the ignition. So, and he lost the trunk key. Guy's got 2 keys, and all of a sudden he locks one in the car, loses the other. So the brother, he's a tech guy. He works on cell towers. So he's a mechanical guy. So Mike asked him, we didn't have a lockout tool. We didn't have any of that stuff. I only had the stuff I brought to put a carburetor on. So we asked him for a coat hanger. And he says, yeah, I think I got one. So Mike unbends it and does the old trick. He measures that out on the window, bends it. Luckily, the vent window on the driver's side was opened like by about a ½ inch. And it's not the kind you can just push in. It's got an actual crank on it, so you couldn't force it. But he got that coat hanger in, and first he grabbed the door handle, and it just pulled straight up. And I said, no, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, when I moved this car, I got in and closed the door, and the window was up. I said, I couldn't get out because the door handle linkage isn't hooked up. I had somebody open it from the outside. So he says, okay. So he rebends it and goes back and grabs the lock post on the door and pulls it up. So the guy was like, wow. He was impressed. He goes, wow, that was really fast. I said, listen, old habits die hard. This guy used to move a lot of cars through the day. He goes, and back then, this would have been unacceptable. He goes, if you couldn't do that in like 30 seconds,
you were shot.
The guy was coming in, you were getting chased with a shotgun.
Yep.
Because then he had he had his chase truck hooked up, and that thing was ready to book. So, but I never saw that done. I'm like, really? We used to carry coat hangers all the time just to get into our cars and other people's cars.
Or we had sheet metal with a hook on it.
Yeah.
I walked out of.
That's my daughter.
Oh,
all right.
I had walked out of a deli one time, and there was this lady there. She had a Ford Ranger. She had locked keys in it, And I walked by and I said, "Oh, you locked out?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, no problem." And she goes, "You can get in?" I said, "Yeah." Went over, unscrewed the antenna, pulled the door, popped the lock, went back over, screwed. I said, "There you go." Nice. And she's like, "Oh my God, you son of a bitch! You used my antenna to break into my car." And I said, "Hey, I can lock it back up and leave."
Yeah. That reminds me, I had my first Datsun. It was a 610, and I had like one key for it. I remember I was out at my girlfriend's, my wife's place, and one of the I probably have done it maybe once or twice in my life. I left the key in the ignition, and I got out and locked the door. I never do that. But I realized, like, holy shit, where are my keys? It's in the car. So I had to get a coat hanger, and I'm trying. And the Datsuns were pretty good with the locks. It was hard to get in. I couldn't get in through the door. I literally had to go to the passenger side and get the coat hanger in across the seats and grab the key in the ignition and pull it out, and then like levitate it through the inside of the car. And I think it dropped once. I was like, "Oh shit, it drops!"
I've done that.
I had no other choice, but I got it. I got it out. Man, that was tough.
I had a bank tell me one time they were looking for this car for a long time, and they wanted it real bad because the guy would mess with him. He'd call in and just dog him out, wouldn't give him the car back. Yeah. So they called me and they said, "Get that car any way you can." They said, "If you wreck it, tear it up, flip it over, we just want the car off this guy, right?" Okay. So I spot him rolling, right? So I follow him, and he parked it in a bad spot. But I had the keys. It was in a bad spot. I was like, man, I'm gonna get this car. So I told my driver, like, hook up to the car behind it, pull it out, and I'm gonna get in this guy's car. So we do that. The keys don't work, right? Because the bank sent me the key codes, so I got the keys. They didn't work. Like, oh man. I was like, they want this car bad. I ain't leaving it. So I took a brick that was laying on the side, broke the window out, got inside. I picked the lock with my picks, and we were out of there.
Wow.
I got it to the bank. They was like, "Where up to the window?" I was like, "You told me to get it any way I can. Here it is."
Yeah, the key didn't work.
Yeah, the key didn't work. I was like, I should charge you for the key too.
Yeah.
But that's hey, wild. Sometimes you gotta go rogue.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd call that old school.
Yeah.
Breaking a window, that's how they used to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I got a whole bunch of those kind of stories.
Yeah, I bet.
My buddy's son at the shop bought himself a tow truck a couple of years ago. And it's a shorty. It's a Chevy tow truck. But it's got, I never remember the name of it. It's got the mechanism that'll just come in and pinch the wheels.
Dynamic.
He called it something else. Or he says, I can get a car out of a parking spot. If it's parked against the curb, I'll get that car out of the spot with this thing. And he
Yep.
showed me how he did. I was like, wow, he goes, that's why I
Was it
bought the
grab
car.
and run or snatch and run? What was those things?
Yeah.
There's a couple of different ones.
Yeah.
There's Dynamic, there's Vulcan, Miller. They all make them now. But back when it first came out, they came out in I want to 90. No, yeah, around 90. And I
This
met
truck
the
is
guy that
early
invented it.
90s,
I'm gonna tell you his story.
It
Yeah.
had
So
been,
here's the story. The guy,
yeah.
they call them self loaders. The first guy that invented it, he said him and his buddy was repoing a car, and they backed up and they had to get out with the strap that went under the bumper. Remember those
Yeah.
the slings?
Mm.
So he's backing up and they're hooking it up, and he feels somebody punching him. Boom, boom. And he says, "Wow, they're hitting me." So he turned around. The lady was stabbing him.
Oh,
Oh shit!
It felt like she was punching him. So they got out of there. He lived, and he said, "Hey, either I'm going to quit repoing, or I got to make something so we can stay safe." So he took his tow truck and he cut a hole in the cab, and he ran cables back to the arms. Remember those arms you had to pull to move the lift?
Yeah.
He ran cables back to it, and he said him and his buddy drove up to a car, backed up, and his buddy hit one cable and he hit the other cable, and he said the lift dropped, and he said they were repoing the car, and he goes, it worked, and they were laughing so hard that this crazy contraption worked that they were just sitting there, and the guy comes out and says, "What are you doing?" They go, "Oh, we're repoing your car." But he said it worked, and then he started talking to other people, and that's where they said we'll go electric over hydraulic.
Yeah.
And that's how that all began with those self-loaders.
Right.
I met him at a repo conference in Florida.
That's
His
cool.
last name was Miller,
Okay.
and he started Dynamic Records.
Okay.
And that's where it came from.
Yeah. This truck had been used in Starrett City in Brooklyn, which is it's all parking garages. So it never left there. This guy's job was whatever he had to recover was in there, and so it's got low miles on it. But it's like I was amazed when I saw that thing work. I was like, "Damn, right out of the parking spot, you snatched that thing." That's
30 seconds, man. I'm telling you.
oh, no
Fast
doubt.
you can back up. That's how fast you can hook it.
That's what he said. Because you know what? We book it down the road. We get out. We'll chain it. We'll secure it later, but we'll get it. We'll get it first.
Yep.
Wow.
When you feel that lift hit the tires, boom, and you hit the switch, and you're gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool stuff.
Well, that's one thing no one will ever have to worry about, because I don't ever want to get myself in a situation where they're going to repossess my car or anything else.
Yeah, mine are all paid for. Everything's
Yeah,
paid.
they're all paid for. I don't like it when they steal them from them. But then
Right.
again, I don't have anything worthwhile to steal. You do with that 65 GTO.
Well, that's locked up. That's safe. But
Yeah, well, if it ever comes up missing, look in my driveway. Because I've wanted one of those damn things since I was in high school. A friend of mine got one, and that was still my favorite car.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's a nice car.
Yeah, a lot of people it's my favorite too.
What's nice is the thing is not a lot of them around. So
there's not.
That makes it more sexy, I guess.
Like everything back in the day, a lot of them, so many got wrecked. And like I tell the younger guys, it's like, I bought that car. It was 10 years old. I got it in 1975, and it had rust in the lower quarter panels already. Like 10-year-old cars already had rust. I said they did. A lot of them didn't last much longer than that, because if they kept getting rusty and then they just got scrapped, they didn't get restored. They got junked. They bought another one. Bought something else.
Not for a while.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's a hard thing for me to realize sometimes when I look at these cars, is they weren't that way when the people got them.
Right.
They were rusty, they were wrecked, and everything else.
And for the most part, they handle and drive better now because you're putting newer shocks on and newer.
Tires alone. That's just the tires alone.
We were talking about that a couple weeks ago, Brian and I, and what his Mustang will become and what my car has become. I've had guys in the car. I'm like, damn, you'll see him bracing because I'm going to be taking an exit or an enter. I see him bracing. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm okay. I set up, boom. It's like almost like a right angle turn. It just goes. It doesn't. There's no body lean anymore. There's no squealing, no screeching. It just goes. And how did this car do that? Like, well, all you gotta do is throw the right money at the suspension and tires, and yours can do it too.
And I think that's part of the reason resto mods are so popular, and because you got the old look, but you're driving like a new car.
Yes.
When I was talking about, I think I was in the destruction phase of my car, and my co-host was always giving me crap about it because I was talking about what I was going to do in the future. I already had it kind of set out what I was going to do, and he's a stock guy. He likes everything bone stock, and you know what? I'm not. I never was, and I never will be. But I appreciate that segment of the hobby. And he said, why wouldn't you just build it the way it was, the way it was created? It'll be worth more money. I'm like, well, first of all, no, these days it won't. Resto mods are coming up. I said, you're going to see that.
Yeah.
I said, but the other thing is, if I had to stick with the, 7.75 by 14 bias ply tires and 4-wheel drum, 9.5-inch drum brakes and the 2-speed automatic, I said, I wouldn't want to drive it.
Exactly. Yep.
I said, so I'm building something that I'm going to want to drive. And
that happens to a lot of guys.
They freeze on
match your numbers, but they don't drive them because they drive crappy.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, see, I want Jim's station wagon. I think that's a lot of things because that would surprise a lot of people. A station wagon with 350 in it. That's just.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there isn't a whole lot done to that car. Just a tune, the Impala wheels and tires, a little bit stiffer shocks, and that thing is so much fun to drive.
I will say I was kind of I loved having my wagon because it was the utility and it was comfortable, but it just never really handled right. And I was happy after I got rid of it than I thought I would be because it just never really handled right. But I attributed it to the weight.
What didn't handle right?
It was just too wallowy, and I didn't do any work to it. It had the air ride suspension that worked. I didn't do any suspension work to the car at all, no modifications. So it was just I did put bigger wheels and tires on it, not Impala size, but bigger than the stock stuff. And that was the biggest. And maybe because I'm driving the Impala at the same time, so it was maybe because it was too much.
You can't compare those two.
You can't. Maybe, and that's maybe what it was.
Mm-hmm.
On a road trip, we took her on road trips, and it was phenomenal.
Wagon.
So.
Ray, you wearing a Speed shirt?
Yes.
I liked Speed when it was on. I mean, when it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the shirts because we did that TV show, and it was like through Speed Channel, so they had a couple.
No real consensus.
They paid. They paid off one of my trucks.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good. I did a lot of hauling for them.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And they put me in a sweet hotel. They put me in the Bellagio, or not the one next to it, the Monte Carlo.
Wow.
It was a $700 a night room. I
can't complain with that. Yeah, no problems there.
No.
I always wondered what the difference was between a $700 room and an old Motel 6. Bed, toilet, shower. That's all I really ever needed.
Clean and dirty. That's the difference.
Yeah, well, in the old days, the Motel 6s were pretty clean, but now
my wife will never let me forget. Well, it was like 1979. We're visiting my sister in Colorado, and we were going around the state, seeing a lot of different stuff. And we did have to make a stopover for the night, and we stayed in the Brownborough Motel. Had like a Spanish American theme, and you go in the room, and it was just dark. The bathroom was like dark brown with like a 40-watt light bulb. You couldn't even see in the shower. The bed was like. It was like a camel, It was like, this
God.
in the middle. It was pretty bad.
I stayed in one in Long Island like that. I was going to Unique Auto Sports, and it's not far from his shop, where his shop was.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the street, but everything was closed. And me and my son drove up there, and I was like, man, we got to get a hotel, man. So we pull into this place, man, and it's just like you said, the light was swinging, and And the guy, we could have robbed him. He was asleep on the couch, and my son was like, "Hey, we need a room." And the guy, we could have just did anything, right? So we get a room. We go in there, and I get in the bed. I'm so tired, right? I get in the bed. I'm like, Lewis, does it feel wet?
Ooh.
He goes, yeah, the bed feels wet. So
Ooh.
we get up, man, the bed is soaked. Like they washed them and then dry them or something. I don't know what was going on. It was terrible, man.
I think it wasn't just wet from water.
No, it was wet. And
Okay.
I was like, dude, this is a nightmare. Because we had drove, from here to there in the middle of the night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I got my son. He was like 10 or 11.
Yeah, the one thing you want to do is just you want to have a comfortable sleep.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wow.
But hey, we lived. We didn't.
Yeah.
Made it out of there.
All the motels we stay in now are almost the budget ones, because when we go to Texas, we found one halfway between the brain stopped. Not Amarillo. No, it's the one that the El Paso. Halfway between hey guys, the brain has.
Hey, we know.
Halfway between El Paso and San Antonio. And I mean, it's in this little town that I think there's 3 motels, a convenience store, and a good Mexican restaurant.
All you need.
That's important. That's what it needs.
Perfect.
All it needs.
And we the town? Sierra Blanca. And the motel is $50 a night, and it's clean. I mean, that's the only thing I ask is clean.
Yeah.
It wasn't shabby. It was not bad. And
I think Motel 6 has came up though, from what I hear. I haven't been in one in a while, but they said that their chain is pretty good now.
Well, last time I stayed in a Motel 6 now was almost 10 years ago. And when you heard the cops come screeching up to the outside, okay, we're going to go somewhere else. Thank you. Didn't even ask for my money back. Screw that.
Here's a hotel I'll never give my money to is Days Inn.
Huh?
Oh, God, no.
Listen, I took my wife on one of our anniversaries. We went to Pittsburgh. Hold on, the bugs are getting at me. We went to Pittsburgh. You see that bug?
Yeah.
So sorry about that. We went to Pittsburgh and went to a Days Inn. So we go in the room and my wife was like, "Man, it doesn't look like they cleaned it." So I pulled the cover back and it was like dirty and everything was dirty, right? So I call up front. I was like, "Hey, can we switch rooms because this room is dirty?" So the lady comes down. She looks at the room. She goes, "Well, the sheet is pulled back, so I can't give you your money back."
What?
I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You could have just came here and had sex." I was like, "Dude, we only been here 5 minutes." I was like, "Listen, I'm a half hour, 45 minutes guy. I'm not a 5-minute guy."
Right?
So I was like, "I'm leaving." So I go to another hotel, right? And so I called Days Inn, the main corporate, and they said that it's owned independently, so they have nothing to do with it. I was like, "But it's your name." I was like, "Well, you'll never ever see me give $1 to Days Inn again, ever."
That's when you were supposed to reach in your pocket and pull out the little blue pill and said, "I hadn't taken it yet."
Yeah.
What was that hotel we stayed at in Vegas? Was that a Days Inn? Yeah. The one where we slept with a gun beside the bed.
I'll do that anyway. All of them.
Yeah.
It was Days Inn, wasn't it? Yeah. It's the same thing. It was a Days Inn in Vegas. And
remember the Days Inn in Santa Rosa that had a sign the thing that said if the police came and asked us any questions, we'd give them all your information?
yeah, we stayed in the Days Inn in Santa Rosa, and you had to sign a thing saying if the police came, they would give you they would give them all your information. So you're right. Days Inn is not some place to stay.
Yeah, I couldn't
Wow.
believe it.
You know,
You would think that they would want their name, but they're like, no, we don't care.
You would think.
hey,
I've 20 miles past the Days Inn in the middle of the night because my wife knows. She goes, oh, we ain't staying there.
Right.
like I said, when you've got to sleep and you worry about, and you've got your pistol beside your bed, your wife's got hers and you've got yours, and you're laying there listening to all the noises outside, waiting for the shooting to start.
And you can't park underneath
That's
the
bad.
pool because they're afraid
Just want to avoid crossfire.
Yeah, and you can't
Yeah.
park underneath the pool because they're afraid it's going to collapse.
Oh, jeez.
We decided that was definitely not. We'll stay at one of the resorts. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's
just lost their franchise. I don't
yeah.
know why.
Hey, I was thinking everybody is going to SEMA this year. I would like to get one big house, like a Airbnb house, and have a whole bunch of people go in on it. One, because finances are tight for everybody. Two, it'd be nice to have a group of people in one big house. So if you're interested, I'm going to be putting that out there for a lot of people if you're going to SEMA.
Well, we've already got our AR or whatever you call that thing
Airbnb.
because
Airbnb.
the lady that we rented this from 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Thanks for the offer, but we ain't letting this one go.
Yeah, I don't blame you. One of my friends from Canada, he rented a mansion out there, 19 bedrooms.
Wow.
And he had a whole bunch of people, oh, yeah, we're going. They all canceled on him.
Mm.
So he couldn't get his money back. So he started calling around. He called me. I had just booked like maybe a week before my hotel. Or did I get an Airbnb? I think I got an Airbnb that time. And he's like, oh, man, I'm trying to find people to help me pay for this mansion. He rented a mansion.
That wasn't Ray, was it?
No, but it was one of his friends.
Ah, wow. Yeah.
Yep. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other guy that I'm going to get on the show, and I have to talk to him. Tom
Right.
Sarmento was one of the he was a mechanic on the Dukes of Hazzard TV show, and then he became a stuntman. And he did a lot of the jumps on TV, and he goes to Dukes Fest and still does. Well, his back won't let him do it anymore. He's in bad shape, but he just came out. He just wrote a book about the behind the scenes with the Dukes. So I'm going to get him on the radio show,
Nice.
and I'll get him on here too because he's a great. We've had him on for many times in the past. I knew there was somebody else. He's phenomenal.
Nice.
I just remembered that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ray, what do you think? You going to SEMA? What are you thinking?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I got to talk it over with the other half. My wife was saying that, she likes the idea. She likes doing it the way Chatsy John does, though. So,
Yeah. So all the shows and stuff.
we have to take it. Yeah. So, because we've never been out there. I've never been to Vegas.
Oh yeah, you'll love it.
Just
Yeah, you
never
got to
been-
get a sweet hotel. You got to go spend a couple extra bucks and get into one of the nicer hotels
Yeah.
because you'll get the real experience. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say that's the way she likes to do it anyway. It's like, neither one of us are campers, but I'll stay in a motel or I'll stay in a small, a roadside. Nah, she won't even do that. She's got it's Holiday Inn or Marriott or something. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Well-
okay.
Well, the wives are usually right because I'm not. When we go on vacation, I'm not allowed to book the hotels no more because I always mess up.
Hey, if I ain't staying in we call it a motorhome, even though it's not officially one. If we're not staying in that, we're going to stay in one of the better resorts.
Yeah.
I'll just spend the extra money because I'm too old to hurt.
Yeah. Right.
No.
Papa Squirrel, I think you can. For insurance purposes, if it was an RV, would it be cheaper for you?
Oh, it is an RV.
Okay.
It's definitely an RV. And believe me, yes, the insurance purposes are cheaper because we had to register as a commercial truck when we first started building on it. And once I got it licensed as a RV,
Okay.
my insurance went down $200 a month.
Okay.
Nice.
I was making sure that's what you did because yeah.
Oh God, yes. I'm a.
On Tuesday it'll be on.
You're talking to the original Scottish Jew. And
I
I
never heard
actually,
that one before.
Me
hey,
either.
Oh, and Scotty.
that was my chick at a Ren fair. I actually met a guy that was a Scottish Jew
Yeah.
Wow.
because I was doing my little stick, and he laughed. He said, "You know, I'm a Scottish Jew," and I said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you." He said, "Oh no, I think that's quite appropriate." Hey, watch your money, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the significance of a Scottish Jew that makes them different from anybody else?
Okay. First off, you know how conservative regular Jews are, right?
Right.
Scots are really conservative too.
Okay.
So if you take and breed them together, you got a person who could make a penny cry.
Treats nickels like manhole covers.
That's it. That's it.
Got it. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Hey, that's just something I came up with one day
Okay.
because I was trying to figure out a chick for the fair, and I was trying to figure out how to be cheap.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the trouble is most people think of Jews and Scots as cheating people, but it wasn't that. They were just good
Yeah.
business people.
Well,
That's
right.
where I always took it.
You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
really good business people.
I think Papa Squirrel, when I hit the road, I'm gonna try to hit some of those festivals and stuff that you guys go to, and maybe try to sell some leather stuff.
You can just make sure that remember you're going to have a lot of well, you won't have a lot, but you'll have competition out there, and sometimes they won't let you in because they got too many leather merchants.
Mm.
But if
Yeah.
you've got a good I know what your leather's like because I've got some of it. If you have a good price on your leather and a good thing, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. When I'm out on the road, it makes me nervous retiring on a partial pension. You know what I mean? So I gotta make sure I can eat.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely want to.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I can't find any ski mask anymore. So
Yeah, all the ski masks have been bought up now.
I gotta
Yeah.
sell some.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
afraid I'm gonna be in trouble because you can go into the banks now without a ski mask. I don't know
Is
about
that crazy?
that. I think they're gonna recognize me now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I sell a lot of my stuff online anyway. So I think I'm gonna look to make maybe 3 or 4 products when I'm out on the road.
Yeah.
Make a whole bunch of them. You know what I mean?
Yep. The other thing to do is just make sure that you can buy your leather while you're out on the road.
Yeah.
Oh, raw material. Yeah.
Yeah, because our friend, she buys. We found a guy. Well, I won't say we. They found a place out here that sells leather by the pound,
Wow.
scrap leather, good stuff. Now, if you have, uh, if you want bigger pieces of leather in better shape, those are a little bit more expensive. They're like $6 a pound or so. But he has scrap leather that he was selling for $2 a pound. $2 a pound.
That's good.
Wow.
And we've made pouches out of them and all types of things.
How thick is that, Pop Squirrel? Do you know what the denier value is?
You can get it from garment weight up to bend it with a hammer.
Hold
Nice.
on, I gotta show you something. Hold on.
I got to bail. It's getting late for me.
Yeah, we'll see you later, Jim.
Okay, take care, Jim. Be safe.
But yeah, we do pouches out of garment leather and book covers for
Book
journals
covers.
and
That's
that.
cool. That's different.
And God, I don't even know what all we do. Oh, we do signs out of leather too. And we found out you can do postcards out of leather.
Wow.
And you can mail them through the mail.
Wow.
Long as they fit the slot, the parameters that the post office says. They don't care. They don't care if you.
My wife usually gives me leather products as gifts, so I usually get like a nice boot in the ass and a belt in the mouth.
Right?
Wow.
Okay, so this is my motorcycle coat I made.
Nice.
Right.
Oh shit!
Burgundy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's that. And wait a minute.
Got the skid pad on the back. That's nice.
Yeah. So this piece of leather right here is the final piece of leather that I received from Debbie and Papa Squirrel. They sent me a whole bunch, right? And this is the last piece
Here's
I have.
what he's got. That's the last of the leather that we sent him.
Nice.
And when I tell you that this leather is no joke, I mean, it was beautiful leather. Beautiful. They sent maybe 3 different colors. But I'm telling you, look at that. That's my coat.
That was that leather and you dyed it.
No, he sent a couple different colors. So
Did I
this
see some work on the sleeves there? What's
the zipper for the.
Oh, is there a diamond pattern somewhere that I saw?
Yeah. It's quilted inside the liner.
Nice, very nice, very nice.
Yeah, I mean, leather's no joke that they sent. And I'm out. Y'all got to go back to North Carolina.
Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, it does.
Well, if I go there, I can. Yeah, what part of North Carolina?
How long ago was that?
What, 3 years ago, maybe 4?
Something like that.
I bet you the leather today is not the same as the leather then.
Oh
No,
my God! I
probably
mean,
not.
I was just there last year. If I would have known, I would have. If I was in the area, I would have picked up.
I made a lot of stuff out of that stuff. I mean, it's
Actually,
it's thick. I bet
What
you
it
it's 4
was
ounce, 5 ounce.
it was one of these not thrift stores. What the hell was that place that Leah got the leather from at the Carolinas? It was a
thrift shop.
oh. Anyway, they'd been donated a bunch of leather, and they couldn't get rid of it.
Perfect.
Wow.
So they, Rob and Leah had gotten got a deal out of them for $1 a pound,
Wow.
about $1 a pound for that leather. And let us tell you, we put some piles on the floor. Well,
Hey,
let's put. You know how big a PT Cruiser is.
Right.
My wife had it stuffed.
Phil, you couldn't see through any windows.
Not a bit.
You could have had the whole horse in there; it would have weighed the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably would have.
And we loaded our rental car too.
Yeah, we loaded our rental car full too.
Back sheet out. Honey, don't stab it.
But it was
Well, I just think when I came back from Tennessee, I came back with a. I had a VW Atlas, and the back was packed with cigarettes and moonshine.
oh, we know what
Hey.
you were doing, right?
The only thing I couldn't cash in on was ammo. So it was
Yeah.
cigarettes and moonshine. Yeah.
Yeah, but I tell you, that was some good quality leather too. I've made purses,
I know not
a whole bunch of stuff. I made a whole bunch of stuff out of
Oh, good. I'm glad you could use it because
that. Yeah.
yeah, I we're looking at buying us a leather sewing machine to sew pouches and very simple lines. I ain't doing what you're doing. That's too much like
Work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Work.
Now, what do you want to sew pouches and stuff?
strictly pouches. Well, not strictly pouches, but pouches and other lightweight leather.
You know, my
That.
Juki, I love my Juki. It's nice for lighter weight leather. That's something to look into.
That's probably what we're gonna get. We're not gonna get anything expensive or heavy.
Yeah. Let me know if you want if you're going used, because I have a buddy that he makes curtains for churches. And you know,
Okay.
drapes and
Right,
those
right,
big,
right.
like what do you call them? That covers the stage.
Yeah, the curtains. I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it, but I know what
So
you're
he
talking
makes
about.
those, and he finds them. I don't know. He has a lot of them. He has probably 15, but he sells them all the time. That's where I bought mine from.
Mm.
And I've had it for probably 7-8 years.
Hmm.
I haven't had any little problems. I had little hiccups with it, but I learned how to fix it myself when it jumps time and stuff like that.
That's the biggest thing I think you need to do is learn how to fix it when it jumps time, because
Yeah.
I swear they all jump time.
Yep. So
Uh,
I know I do it now because the guy messed up and let me watch him. You know,
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and he did it in like 2 minutes. I'm like, really? I just paid you $50 to do that. I was like, oh, it's on now. So
You mean it's like flying a biplane where you got to shoot the Gatling guns through the propellers?
yeah.
That always amazed me. Like one wrong, one slip and you're shooting your propellers off.
Yeah.
and you're gonna saw them into a
Yeah.
little bitty circle, and they're not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
work. Nah.
Yeah. So if you want to go use, let me know. I might be able to get you a pretty good deal. You might be able to get it cheaper out there. I'm not sure.
I have no idea. We haven't even started looking yet because there's some other things we've got to get out of the way first.
Mhm.
Desperately.
I really like to get a laser. It make my life a lot easier, but they're still kind of expensive.
They're very expensive, and a laser's going to cost you
Yeah.
You're
because,
talking about the laser to cut with.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
You can
that's
do-
what a lot of leather companies do now is they use the laser to cut their leather.
Yep.
Because it's so much smoother and easier to do.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to use it for.
Thin stuff you can burn really well.
Do what?
You can burn the thin stuff and pucker it.
Oh yeah. Well, what they don't. My wife was saying it burns the thin stuff and makes it pucker
If you're not careful.
if you're not careful. But
Mhm.
if you're not careful with anything,
It leaves a charred edge.
yes,
But most of my stuff I dye anyway, so I clean that off and dye it.
yeah.
So it works out pretty good.
There's nothing
She got them open after she boiled them.
nowadays. To me, a charred edge doesn't mean anything because you can sand it or you can just dye it.
Yep.
But it
But,
sure makes it quicker.
I also want to make you can make plastic not templates, but
Dies.
yeah, dyes, yeah. So that it helps out too. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and you can engrave onto the leather too. So you can do a special design. Debbie's done some stuff for me.
Yeah.
Big money. I got to sell a kid to
Yeah.
one.
You better do it quick. They're getting old.
Right.
And
Nobody wants
not-
the old ones
they're not-
anymore.
they're not worth as much as they get older.
Right, exactly.
And I was thinking about a CNC machine. They're coming down in price, and people use those to cut leather too. They can cut it out. So I don't know.
There's a lot of computer control stuff they got now that is very nice.
Oh yeah.
I just don't have $30,000 and $50,000 to spend on it
Yep.
because
Well, speaking of the kids and spending, my old daughter came over yesterday with a fiance, and the younger one's here, and the younger one's become quite a margarita maker. So we're always, and I'm sucking those things down, boy. Like, whoa. So now we're talking about slushy margaritas, and now that they're trying to push me into buying the machine.
yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, I got to start looking. I got to go to Restaurant Supply, and I know John has, I think he has 2 of them on his tiki bar.
Oh yeah.
All I got to do is go to Restaurant Supply and see if I can pick one up.
Speaking of John, is he going to come back on this show anytime, or is he having problems?
He's still having problems. He has his back issues and physically. I think I talked to him last Saturday, and the way I left it was I told him I'm going to leave you alone. I said when you have time or you have the volition to talk, I said you got my number. You just call me. I don't want to bother you. And maybe that's the wrong way to approach. I was going to send him a text today, and then I got busy with other stuff. But he's hurting. He's in bad shape. He's hurting, and he was going to go back into the hospital. He wanted his wife to bring him back in. And I said, wait a minute, you were just complaining how bad it was. You wanted to get out. He goes, I know, but now it's bad enough here that I want to get back in so they can give me the drugs that are strong enough that I won't feel the pain.
Damn,
So,
what did they have to do to him?
It's a complicated.
Oh, that sounds like it.
It is complicated. So, keep him in your thoughts and prayers and hearts. I think about the guy every single day. He's on right here. He's right in front of my head every day. I just feel so bad that he's got to go through that.
Yeah. I'm going to text him. I'll text him tomorrow, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep telling him everybody asks for him. Everybody's, he appreciates it. He always appreciates the wishes, but it's tough when we've all gone through stuff like that. Physically, when you're getting beat up every day, after a while,
yeah, it's bad.
You're down, and you're not bouncing back as easy anymore. Now you're, it gets the better of you pretty quick.
It's a mental, yeah.
Right. Not just mental; it's a physical bullshit.
The physical part causes the mental, right? I mean, listen, you can only take so much. I mean, that's why torture works so well because, and that's a form of torture. Being physically impaired is a form of torture.
Yep.
So,
when you like to work on things, it's torture not to be able to work on them.
Right.
Wow. It's hell.
I mean, at this point, it would be if he could just get up and walk straight and be comfortable and not in pain.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. Where just give me that, and I'll deal with the rest later.
Yeah.
See, we need a rich sponsor so we all could just jump on a plane and fly down there and see him.
Yeah, that's what we need.
But man, thinking Richard Rollins, he used up all the sponsors that we hit.
Yeah, right. I know. Crazy.
Oh, well. Yeah, Lou seemed to have gotten over his pretty easy. He must have had a really no back surgery is minor.
Right.
Not in my book.
But
three people can go through the same surgery and three people come out different. So
yeah.
Well, I think he started doing yoga too, and I think that helped him a lot through his getting to that point.
I wish I could do that. I remember I was seeing a physical therapist years ago, and I told her my limitations, and she goes, "Oh no, don't worry, I can make you bend in ways you didn't know you could bend." I'm like, "Listen, I know my limitations from all the physical things I've done and martial arts and other things." And it got to the point where she says to me, "Ray, I got to tell you, Gumby, you ain't." I was like, "What did I tell you?" Like I told you that going in.
That's me. I am not. I've always had back limitations. Ever since I was a little kid, I remember my aunt getting on to me, "Stand up straight." Aunt Nancy, I am standing up straight, but I've always had a very sharp lower back curve. I think they call it a kyphotic curve. And then I looked in there, last time I looked at any x-rays, my L4, L5 joints, they're, you're supposed to have that nice smooth look. Mine look like the Grand Canyon, just all types of crap.
I picked I'd seen a doctor one time. I think I had to go for a secondary opinion on a claim. So they call that, was it EMI? There was a name for that when you have a secondary doctor. Anyway, I walked in the office and this guy was having no part of being nice or friendly. And I looked and I said, "Oh," I said, I see you got my x-ray." He goes, "Where? What x-ray?" I'm like, "Well, right there on your on the light table. You can't tell your x-ray from just looking at it like that." I'm like, "Well, let me ask you, am I right or am I wrong? Is that my x-ray or not? Because that sure looks like my spine." And it was. He says, "How could you know that? You must have been in here before I came in." I'm like, no, you were in here and then they brought me in. So how the hell was I in here before you came in? I said, I've been invested in my health and my physical condition long enough where I know I have scoliosis. I have an S curve and I have a military neck. It's I said, I've seen my x-rays long enough through my life to know what it looks like. And I picked it, pick it right out of a lineup. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And he was still arguing with me that I couldn't have, that I didn't know. And
Yeah, don't argue with him because he's a doctor. They know better.
exactly.
It is.
Yes. Well, see, that's why I've always had to be careful because overhead lifting, if I lift too much weight over my head, it really screws my back up.
Now, you see, that's where everybody's different. Because when I started working at the shop, I found I would come home at night and I would be, naturally, I'd be tired. I'd want to take a nap. But I found that my back felt better because of working over my head on the lift, and stretching and doing things like that. It actually opened up my back a little bit. I was like, wow, that's, so work can be good.
Now, see, my back is good when I'm sitting. And when I stand up and bend over, that's when my back goes crazy.
Yeah, bending over, I can't really do too much bending over. Yeah, no.
I could sit all day and have no problems, and the doctor's like, you can sit.
I was pressure washing the railing in the front by the patio the other day, and just that bending. So I went in and got my little Craftsman stool. I sat on a stool and I did it. Like, that's much better. Now I'm at the level of the work. I'm like, bending over.
Yeah.
No.
That sets it off fast. Like when I was working on the alternator, I wouldn't bent over long.
Well, that's what happened like with this Caddy. The 64 Caddy engine bay is huge. And now it's in the guy's driveway, not in the shop on the lift anymore. And I told Mike, I said, I can't lean far enough over the side of this car. This thing is wide. He goes, well, how'd you do it at the shop? I said, I would climb into the engine bay. I'll just climb into the engine bay. I'll sit on the inner fender well. I'm like, but the owner wasn't around looking, so he wouldn't know. Like, I just climb right in with it. So.
I noticed on my Caddy, the hood don't go up high. Like it's, what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You're touching the hood, just taking the air filter off.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny
That's
stuff.
why it takes me twice as long to do anything now, is because my back starts hurting really quickly.
Yeah.
And if I can work past the first batch of pain, but about 10 minutes later, it's sit in a chair and cry for a bit and whine.
I hear you. Terrible. That's another reason I'm trying to get out early, man, because my body's shutting down. My carpal tunnel, I haven't been able to use it real good for a month. And then I get, gout in my toe. So I've been hopping for the last week. So, man, it's bad.
Getting old sucks.
Well,
the alternative
what a geriatric cast of characters we got here. Bunch of wrecks. It's like the automotive junkyard over here. We got
about it.
Bumper who's got a broken limb. It's like,
listen, what sucks is your brain thinks you can still do everything.
Yes,
your body's on a different chip.
And I'll tell you where age trumps that, because the kids were over yesterday and my daughter decided she wanted to order this badminton set, so she did. So the two girls and the fiance, they go out and they set it all up. And, I'm sitting on the deck. My wife says, gee, aren't you going to go over there and play with them? I'm like, I said, I'm on my third margarita and I just lit a nice big cigar. I said, I'm smart enough to know not to go and do any kind of physical exertion with three of these things under my belt, because I think I'm some kind of professional. And like, I'll be like, in the hospital with John the next day. I'll be locked up, man.
Yeah.
No, staying right here. So
what gets me is my dad, up until he was he was 77 when he died. But in his early 70s, man, he'd get out there. He could still play tennis and badminton, but he'd bitch about his knees.
Yeah.
Dad, if that's all you got to bitch about is your knees, you're doing pretty damn good.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
especially after having been blown up a couple of times in the military and little minor details like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He got blown up a couple times.
Yeah, a few bullet scars, things like that.
I was complaining about something the other day. I don't know, something physical. My wife says, I got to say, now that you've been around and I've been watching you, because I've seen you get into some pretty weird positions and being down on the ground and getting up. She goes, you're like impressing me that you can move around as much. I said, that comes with a price. Believe me. I said, every time you do that, it's never a seamless transfer. It's
Hey, what's funny is when you get ready to do something, you got to think about it. Now, can I get back up?
right.
Should I get a pad?
Yes. Yes.
Oh boy.
The answer to that most of the time is yes.
Yes.
I should get a pad because
Should I wait for the wife to get home in case I need help?
Yes.
Well, see, that's why it's handy, because if I need something, I'll, honey, come here, and she'll stick her arm out, and I'll grab it, and she'll pull me up the way I go.
I can tell my wife now there's a magnet here. I'm a magnet as far as the neighbors are concerned. I wanted to go out and I got a Japanese red maple in front of the house, but every time it's growing a little lower and I back the truck up and it's hitting the roof and all. I'm like, I got to trim a few branches, not a lot, just a few. So I was going to go out there today, and of course my neighbor across the street, who's an old hippie from the '60s, who's still doing more drugs than food, I think. And I can't go outside without him wanting to talk to me about something. So I'm like, I see him come out of his house with it looked like a black leather jacket and some kind of a stick. And I was like, so I'm watching him. And it was a black trash bag and like a mop. And like he was cutting some trees. I was like, oh, don't tell me when I want to go out there and trim this tree. I need 10 minutes. Now he's got to come out and trim something. So I waited a little bit. He did what he had to do. Car was gone. So I said, okay. I went out. I brought a ladder, 6-foot ladder, jump up. I'm using the lopping shears and moving around the other side, doing that. And just as I'm cleaning up and putting it all in the bag, my next door neighbor comes home. This woman, you don't want to be around when she wants to talk to you because you're not getting out of there for like 45 minutes. I was like, holy shit. I had to time it. She opened the garage door. She gets her car in. I'm like, I got just enough time to get my stuff in the bag, tied up, grab the ladder, and I run. I left my my shears there. I'm like, I'll get them later. I'm like, what is this? Every time I go out, there's like everybody comes out of the house and home. I'm like, stay away. I don't know.
You're a likable guy, right?
Right.
Yeah, well, the thing is, but when I'm working, I want to work. I don't want to sit. I mean, I bullshit with the best of them, but
What you need to do is do like I do sometimes when they won't shut up and leave me alone and I want to get out of there. Oh, man, I got to take a shit really badly.
that's a good one.
Hey, I've done it.
That's a
Because
good
if
one.
if you won't take hints,
That's great.
Here's another way you get them is you go out and vacuum clean the grass in your underwear.
that'll work.
Well, look,
Do
I've
that
been doing
a
that
couple
for
times.
years. I'll go out in the morning and I'll get the newspapers in my underwear. And my wife's like, she saw me one day. She's like, you went out there in your underwear? I'm like, yeah. So what? There's nobody out there. She's like, what if they see you? I'm like, what if? I was like,
They're-
no big deal. I said, come on. It's like
They're the clean ones.
I don't give a shit. They're boxer shorts. Who cares?
I tell you that I want to tell you something. I do the same thing. I'll take the garbage out, and the wife gives me all kinds of crap about that,
It's their job.
So this is this was a couple of years ago, and they were gone. They were down in Disney. Every 2 years they go down to Disney, down in Florida. We have a timeshare down there, and they go and do that. And I'm not much into Disney stuff, so. But so it was a Saturday morning, and had to get the trash out. So I go get the trash. Well, the dog closed. Yeah, there we go. The dog closed the door.
Oh,
The front door.
Oh, he took his hat off. Goofy.
So I'm out front.
See, there he is, dear.
That's good.
No,
Why not?
I want Donald Duck.
It's padded.
They
Yeah. Go.
Huh?
You wear it?
so
Probably
I'm out
not
front.
much.
I'm out front, and I got my boxers, and I'm like trying to figure out like how to get in back into the house, because I'm locked out.
Open
And
the
I'm
door.
like, I was like, and I got a really nice. I have a great neighbor, Ann, next door, and I said, man, if I got to go over at 6:30 in the morning and knock on her door, and I'm in my boxers.
Yeah.
This ain't. I mean, this is.
That's the stuff local legends are made of.
Yeah, I'm like this ain't gonna go over. And on top of that, it's gonna be bad enough that I'm gonna have to call my mom and dad to bring an extra key over and tell them where I'm at, and I'm in my boxers,
Right.
And luckily, I remembered that. Well, after thinking about it, I'd left the back door open for the dogs to run in and out. So I just went through the gate. I had to go through the gate and make sure the dogs didn't get out, on top of that. But, man, I tell you one thing. That was I told the wife, and the wife goes, see, that was a lesson. You shouldn't be doing stuff. And I still do it. I mean,
yeah, of course.
It's bad enough. I got a neighbor over here. He sits out on his porch in his backyard, butt naked, smoking cigarettes.
Really?
And yeah, it was pretty comical. He told my other neighbor that he has Alzheimer's, and so I think it's kind of funny how he knew he had Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
But
Just using an excuse.
Right.
Get yourself some extra keys, Ray. Right. Get yourself some extra key and hide them.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
come on now.
you know what happens with that is,
Here we got him.
well, no, either I forget where I hit them, or I would use them and not put them back.
Right.
So I ended up with like 4 or 5 keys,
In the
That
house.
happens.
inside the house. So
That's like my new bigger picture. Leaving.
Well, guys, I got to jump ship. You guys kept me on late.
man, you want
Well,
extended time.
That's what happens when you retire.
Yeah. Hey, what's coming?
We're sitting there last night. It got to be around this time. It was after 11. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm out here drinking, smoking, having a good time. It's what day is that? Oh, today's Wednesday. I was like, well, I'll just sleep a little later tomorrow. I don't care. It's like, no worries.
Okay, we'll see you guys later.
Nice.
All righty.
Have a good weekend. See you next week.
All right, take
All right.
care.
Be
Oh,
careful
yeah.
out there.
Yes, sir. We sure will. Oh, man.
So what was it? Monday was a holiday. Yeah, Monday.
Right.
Did you watch Adam 12?
Yes.
That was with the drag strip.
Oh, that, I missed that episode, but I've seen that one enough times to know it by heart already.
Yeah, that was the local drag. We had what was that guy's name? God, I can't remember.
Fats.
Yeah.
Because and the guy, and Dick Clark was in that episode.
Yep, Dick Clark.
Dick
It was
Clark
his
was the drag
racetrack.
strip
It
one.
was Branson Raceway or whatever. Brandon.
Yeah. The other thing is there was that Vega, that like mustard colored Vega with the black hood.
Yeah.
That car was in the 3 next episodes of Adam 12.
Oh,
It's
really?
in background, yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, it
used
was
a lot
funny
of cars.
because Reed had, I don't know what was that?
It was like a 50 Ford.
Was it a Ford or?
I think it was a Ford. It was funny because I sent about a year ago when that was on. I said something to my buddies at the UD. I said, "Look at that! It was, I got a picture of it. It's something with the carburetors on an intake. They sit sideways."
Yeah.
So my friend Dougie at the UD, he shows me he's got that intake on a big block Chevy with the sideways. He goes, "Yeah, that was the thing back then." I'm like, "Holy shit, I didn't know that!" Like, but if you look on Adam 12, I caught it. His didn't have linkage connecting them.
Oh, really? I was like, man, because he ran 1111. That's what he ran.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this thing, because I loved it because the other cop had a Camaro that was.
It was his
talking all
brother's
that
car.
Yeah, he was talking all that smack, and
Yeah,
I guess
he's a dick, so he had
he popped the rear end, I guess, or something because.
I don't know.
He broke launching.
I thought maybe he stalled it or something. Who knows?
Yeah, no, he broke it when he launched, and I thought that was funny, and I laughed so hard. That was so funny.
I tell you, right from the beginning, there's like a not a GTX, I think the Super B. There's a 65 GTO in that episode.
Yeah.
The radius rear wheel wells.
Yeah.
The Go was fast. I think that was like a 12-second car.
Yeah.
That one was pretty good.
And
but yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes.
I liked how all the guys had a golf jacket with the decal, like, whatever cam and there was like all the different. That was kind of funny. That was a good. So I got a certain package today, Ray.
You did get it. Wow.
See,
things go fast when they go south.
Yeah. No crap.
Holy shit.
Yep.
That was the quickest packaging job I've ever done. Now, I'll tell you something. The reason, they look so different, not in my house. The reason they look a little funny is I had treated them with like a rust preventative stuff because they did start getting the surface rust. So I had treated them with that, and then I never like polished them or cleaned them. I just kind of stuck them away. So,
yeah, man, it was funny. It was funny because actually I was kind of, I wasn't really concerned because I get it all the time, but I got like, they had changed the delivery date on them.
Uh-huh.
And then they said they were delivered.
That was quick.
So that was kind of weird because I'd gotten, like, when I wrote out the shipping label and sent it to you, and that night, see, I thought you boxed it and went that night.
No,
because drop it off, because that night I got an estimated ship date for Thursday, and I was like, damn,
I shipped them yesterday morning.
Right. Well, then I get the other one, but because I get estimated ship date. You have a package coming, and it was going to be. And the funny part was, that's the first time that I've shipped something to myself.
Oh yeah.
So it just had my number on it, and right. I was like, well, who's sending me that? Then I realized it was me sending my pack.
Right.
So, but going along the line, I was like, damn, what did Ray do? Run out in the middle of the night and dropped it all? Because I was like, holy crap! And then I saw that you had shipped it. Then that's when you had sent me the message.
Now the weight ended up being wrong, and I'll tell you why. Because all I had, I have a small scale that I weigh my lasagnas on, but that's only good for like 10 pounds. So I had to use the bathroom scale. And of course, when you put the box on it, now you can't read the scale.
Right.
So as I tipped the box off, I saw a number and then it changed to like 37.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I put it down again and I tipped it and I saw the first number was 43.
Yeah.
And then it changed to 37. I figured, okay, because now it's on an angle. So that's why I told you 43 pounds. But when they weighed it at the store, I asked her, I said, oh, by the way, what did your scale come in with? And it was like 37 point something. I'm like, damn, so it was the second number.
Yeah.
Now I'm confused.
If you ever do that, when we do that again, you weigh yourself.
I was thinking of that, yeah.
And then that's how I do it. I weigh yourself, and then you hold the and then you subtract it, and you get real close. But the one thing, and that's why I wasn't. It's estimate because you could put all that stuff down. That's just estimating shipping cost.
Yeah. And
then when it goes through, when they go through, it adjusts, and I get my bill changes.
Good.
So
let me ask you, how what was the integrity of my homemade box?
Oh, it was all together. It was all together in there.
That box was twice as big. We bought a beach cart for my older daughter, which it was like 5 foot. The box was like 5 foot tall, 4 foot tall. So I'm looking for a box, and I couldn't find anything. And then I'm looking at this big cardboard box, and I told my wife, I said, I think I can make this big box smaller if I cut it and just start making some folds. I said, and I think I could do this. So I'm out there with the razor knife and a marker, and I'm making more lines.
Yeah, no. When you make a box like that, when you do that, if you take and cut just the inside where you want to fold, it'll make a clean fold. I mean, you just cut along the first layer of the box, not all the way through, and that layer. Because some of my stuff is such odd shape, I have to make I try to make a box.
Pretty good. And I said, you know what? Use enough tape, it'll hold together.
No, everything was good. Actually, it was kind of funny, because it got here and I came home. When I got home, I was like, man, where's the box? And Brianna told me that because it started to rain, so Jenny brought it in. She goes, that was a heavy damn box.
It's all beef jerky and marshmallows, dear.
And I was like, I said it would have been okay. I mean, there's a tarp out there. It was, She goes, well, I brought the box in. I didn't know what it was. And she goes, man, that's it. And I was like, yeah. She goes, what was in there? I said, you don't need to know.
Right. I don't need to know. It's a cake. And I was telling Linda, I said, this is good. That night after we talked, I said, you know what? I said, I got to send some stuff to Brian tomorrow. I said, I got this set of wheels. I've had them I think I got those probably around 87 or 88. I was at a friend's house. I was buying some Harley Davidson parts, and I was up in his loft, and I said, hey, what are these wheels from? He's like, I don't know. And I ended up taking them from him. I said, these are cool. I'll put these on my car. And then I found out they were, the Ford pattern. But I've had them ever since. And you can see a two-piece. They're riveted.
Yeah.
It's a real Raider wheel. There's no.
Well, I started looking in, and man, because they actually changed the spelling in those, and then, like I said, there were like I said, I like to try to find the timeline on those because they changed a little bit because they had the group, like I said, the lines in it. And then I noticed that they said that they made these like a lot of, there was in a lot of the catalogs like Sears and J.C. Whitney, and somebody had listed like each one there was something just a little bit different about how they were casted or made.
There were a lot of variances.
And
they are the Batmobile wheels. Hang on a sec. Good God. Yeah, because these are this has the single rib. There was one that had a double.
Yep.
But the overall, and these are one piece. These aren't two piece.
Oh yeah. Yes.
These are aluminum.
Yeah.
But they were made for the Batmobile.
Yeah.
But Raider's still in business. The company is still in business. I don't remember where they are, but they're still around.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. So I'm, like I said, I was really surprised. I mean, like I said, I was surprised they made it that fast because it was just funny on the tracking on it.
Yeah. Oh, and, yeah. I was curious because I said, I wonder how fast, like you were saying, you'll probably get them by the end of the week and all. I'm thinking, you know what? I wonder if these are going to get there faster. And they sure as hell did.
Yeah. It's really weird. I had a package from Roanoke, from Virginia,
right?
That came up, and it was Mako, from Mako, and it was literally it's been 10 days.
Wow.
And I got them. I just got that.
Well, that's because I had to go through the Matco advertising department first.
I don't know, dude.
So that's why it takes so long.
Some of that stuff is so crazy, and And some of it, I mean, there's stuff that I ordered. And like you said, it seemed like yesterday, and I got it, and then stuff that I watched the tracking, and it,
Right.
I don't know. So,
well, Raider, and now I remember because when I was at the Syracuse Nationals, they were there, and I think at that time they were selling the company. They're in Montville, New Jersey. That's where they're out of right now. I'm on their websites, RaiderWheels.com. And let's see, they have a tri-rib 3 and a tri-rib 3, which is like the ones I have here. It's got 3 ribs. Man, they're $389 a piece. But that's the new ones.
and it looks like these things had a washer that went in there.
Oh, for the lug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never had those, so I don't know. They got an East Coast distributor in Pottstown, PA. And then let's see, Madison, Iowa. No. Yeah, so there's a guy, Blast from the Past Street Rods in Pottstown, PA is their East Coast rep.
There
so,
was
it would be cool to find the history, the lineage.
That's what I was looking. There was Jalopy something.
Oh, Jalopnik Journal?
Jalopy, I think it was. There was a guy on there that had a lot. He was some dude out of Australia or something, man. He had a lot of stuff written on him.
Yeah, you go on Jalopnik or the Ham is another one.
Yeah, he had. That's where I saw where they were saying that it was like out of the Sears catalog and J.C. Whitney, and he had a couple other. And actually, there was a picture of the Batmobile one, and in the parentheses, he put down the Sears version.
Wow.
On that. He said the original Batmobile had Raiders, and then of course it was a picture, and he put in parentheses it was Sears.
Wow.
And again, I don't know how you figure that out or how that comes about or whatever.
Especially when there's no serial number or nothing.
Yeah, or like I said, I don't know how. That's kind of like. Whatever's handed down word by mouth type thing or somebody,
So it actually worked in my favor too, because I told Linda, I said, you see, I said, I'm moving stuff out. See, I'm cleaning up. I said, and it's really, I said, it's kind of, well, it wasn't really her that did it. It was my other daughter took one of our coolers. Oh, Jenny, my younger daughter had friends over the weekend, so she wanted the cooler to put beer in and stuff. And I happened to be downstairs unloading the washing machine, and I looked to my left where the coolers were, and the cooler was missing, and now I saw the wheels stacked up on an old bombshell that I have.
Yeah.
Don't ask. So, and I said, oh, yeah, so that's what reminded, like I couldn't get to it before, and now there it was, and right in grabbing sight. So, I said, yeah. I said, sending these to Brian. She's like, really? He wants those? I'm like, yeah, you know what? Brian needs them. I said, they're going to go down there. I said, gives me a little bit of space. She goes, you're not getting anything in return, are you? I said, nope. Straight up one-way deal. I said, don't worry about it. I said, she goes, because I know you'll fill the spot with something. So right next to that spot, I have a shelving unit that I'm looking at. And I said, maybe you can help me figure out how to dispose of these.
The torque wrench or the boxes?
No, both. I have 10 of them.
10?
Yes. Don't ask. I have 10 of these. It's a TER3 FUA quarter-inch drive torque wrench. It'd be great to clear that shelf space.
So what government contract paid for these? And
I don't know.
Ray.
But there's no other markings. It just has.
Those are Bell. Is that a Bell?
No, it's a Snap-on.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, yeah,
it's
yeah. That's Bell made those, I think.
it's got a little tag with a part number. It just says,
Yeah, those are 1/4 inch.
yeah, these are 1/4 inch.
And I tell you, those are unattainable.
I got 10 of them. So I tell you what, we can go partners on this. If you got the network to move them, I got them. I'll cut you in on them.
Yeah.
I said, because I don't really need 10 of them.
No.
And I got shelves. I mean, when I'm talking about veneer calipers, I'm looking at probably 25 of those in boxes right over in front of me. A lot of stuff, man. I don't have to tell you what kind of stuff is around. Yeah. It's a life's accumulation of stuff.
Yep. No, I'm same thing. I was just going through. I've been going through, and I had shit. I mean, I've got 4. I got 5. I got 5 of these, and shit. I don't even dial indicators.
Oh yeah. Nice big one too. That's good. I like the big
one. Why do I need 5?
I got a bunch of stuff over here on the shelf. I got a whole bunch of measuring equipment. A buddy brought me a bag it was a shaving bag, the one that kind of like zippers and you open it up. I was like, Steve, will you bring me shaving stuff? No, open it up. It was all brand new Starrett dial indicators, smaller ones, stands, all sorts of stuff. The place where he happened to be employed years ago, he says, yeah, I had these in my locker when I left, and I decided I should just take them with me. I was like, okay. And they were like never used. He says, and I know, like, you know what to do with these things, so you might as well take them. And that whole conversation came from when I was setting up my my clutch in my car. I was putting the 5-speed in. Tremec was pretty insistent that you make sure you have dead center line between the input shaft and the pilot bushing for the life of the transmission. And the way to do it is obviously you got to index the bell housing. So I was telling him how I did it. And then I sent him some pictures and I said, if you got to move it, there's offset dowels. I said, mine was okay. It was within 5-6 thou. I said it was within spec. So he saw the picture of me using a dial indicator and he knew what they were, but he never really knew how to use them. So that's what he says. Well, you know how to use this stuff. Like, okay, I'll take yours. I'll take it. Sure. Put on the shelf with the other stuff. But now everybody buys the Chinese crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's sometimes harder to sell the good stuff than it is the cheap stuff.
Yeah, it's very, you're absolutely right, because I can, I've learned that with my rotor mics and all that stuff. I'd buy the good stuff and guys would say, oh, I really like it, but it's just too expensive.
Yeah.
And I could, I'm like, well, it'll last you. But, again, I can't tell you how many times, the guy trying to fit it in between the wheel without taking the wheel off, stupid stuff. And then, they get it caught in and break it or drop it. They're going to destroy it anyway. So
look, it's not a C clamp.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, not a C clamp. So, unless they're doing something super critical, I finally got to the point where I just got the Chinese crap.
That's something I never had a rotor mic. I had a drum gauge years ago, but when I was working at the shop and I'm looking at brakes, I actually went to Harbor Freight and bought their, it's the big wide jaw rotor caliper. So I said, okay, at least now I can take a couple of measurements and be close. It's digital, and the digital stuff is pretty good. It's repeatable. But that's how that worked. But
yeah, it's crazy. But no, I was really surprised. Thanks, Ray. I'm one.
That's like that. It must be because it went downhill. I don't know.
I don't know. I was like I said, and they like I said, they look really. I think I'm just I actually, to be really honest, I do need. I dug out from the backyard. I had a steel wheel, a stock steel wheel that I dug out because I need to put a tire on a wheel so that I could roll, move it.
Sure.
And so now I think I'm gonna spruce it up a little bit and have because the steel wheel, believe it or not, I don't think it's on seal. The raw, I mean, it was half buried in the ground. I mean, it's pretty bad.
Right.
I was originally going to use the steel wheel. The steel wheel was supposed to be mounted underneath the deck to roll the hose up on. That's where that project started, but never got very far.
Right. I started one of those projects years ago too, and I was going to use a wheel, but I said, okay, what am I going to mount it on? And what I did is I had an old spindle, so I took the spindle, I'll mount a hub on it because Pontiacs had separate hubs, but I mounted the spindle on a 4x4, and I could mount the top because it had a 90 for the ball joint, but the bottom one I had to make a hole in the 4x4 for the lower ball joint piece to go in, and that's and I started like chiseling it out, and that's where that project stopped. I never finished.
Yeah. That actually, to be honest, I mean, that's how it started, because originally I was just going to mount it to the side, one of the posts on the deck, to roll it up, and then I said, oh, well, if I get a wheel bearing, and then you just mount that on, you bolt it to the thing, and then that way it spins.
Right.
And there it was. That never.
I got a little further, but I still stopped. Right, I never finished it all the way.
And it never. Close. And but the only thing, like I said, the only thing that I wish, and the only thing that I'm mad about, and I should have never gave those away, or I threw them away, were those torque thrusties.
Oh yeah.
I had a set of original. I had the magnesium.
Right.
They were vintage. I mean, they were.
Right. They're not the safest wheels necessarily to use now because of the age.
Yeah.
But they sure as hell look cool.
Yeah. And they were, I guess, they were natural. I mean, there was no.
Right.
I mean, they were, I guess they were just, they weren't polished. They were just.
That gray color.
Yeah, they were, I guess, black, just blasted or what, just
right.
Natural. I mean, they were, and man, I kick every time. Actually, the funny part is, every time I drive by the place where I dumped them, I kick I mean, it's still. I mean, I was 28 years ago.
Yeah.
When I dropped those wheels off, and
let it go, man. Let it go.
I know. Well, so
and it's funny because stuff sticks in your head. I was looking to put wheels on my Fiat years ago, and I wanted the Daisy wheels. They were just like the 4-spoke Daisy rims, and I couldn't find them. I mean, the guys that did have them wanted a ton of money, and a guy, he started calling the show again. This guy, Joe, we used to call him Joe the Undertaker because he worked. He was like the automotive undertaker. He worked at a junkyard, and that's what the name he used to use. And he told me, he says, people he knows, they had a Fiat, and he's got these wheels that are aluminum, and it ends up they're aluminum slots. I forget if there's 4 or 5 slots, and these are the 13-inch wheels.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, well, what do they want for them? And then this is going back, I don't know, 15, 16 years. Back and forth, he had to go, and he finally came back. He says, you know what? He goes, they can scrap them for about $20 a rim. Well, no, maybe it was a little less than that.
Yeah.
So he said, give him scrap price, and I maybe it was like 75, whatever. So, and I did. And I got them sitting in my garage. And then I ended up finding wheels, 14-inch wheels. They're Maserati bi-turbo wheels.
Oh, yeah.
That's on the car now. So go figure. I got Maserati wheels on a Fiat. The only wheels that'll fit on a Fiat are either other Fiat wheels, because it's a 4x98 millimeter bolt pattern, where everybody else is 4x100.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys just fudge it and then they get in trouble. So it's Fiat, Yugo, and Maserati.
Yeah.
Go figure. The Yugo is in there. I'm like, well, I don't want those. And these bi-turbo wheels, they weren't really my favorite wheels, but they're super, super light. I mean, super light.
Yeah.
And they have a steel insert pressed in where the lug bolts go. So it's
wow.
It's not steel on aluminum. It's steel on steel.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a quality wheel.
Yeah.
So I found a guy that had those. So now I got those other aluminum slots sitting there. And every time I look at them, I'm like, I'm never going to use these.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if somebody could use them because it's a retro wheel. I'm thinking, I guess I could always scrap them for the aluminum,
Yeah. The 13s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have the 13s, the original ones that were on the car, which is a steel wheel, kind of like a style, like a 4 or 5 spoke. Almost looks like a Rally 2 Pontiac wheel. And I had painted them argent silver and black and in clear. Actually, the clear now started to yellow, so they kind of have like a goldish look.
Yeah.
Over the silver and black. And I have tires mounted on them. I had brand new tires. That's what I first had on the car when I started driving it. And then I took them off. So I got those in the other garage, the storage garage. I should get rid of those.
Yeah. I got I finally found a set of rims for the tool truck, 2 rims,
Really?
And those are hard to come by because, and I tell you, those Isuzus, those NPRs and NQRs, when they get in, when somebody puts them in a junkyard, those things are picked over like a vulture on a Sunday morning, dude, because parts, and one of our guys in our distributors, he had to clean up his yard. The county had gotten him. He got into it, and he's like, does anybody need some extra Zuzu wheels? I got 2 of them, and I said, I will. And everybody's like, why do you want those? And I said, wait till you get a flat tire and you spend half the day trying to get the truck someplace to change a tire.
Yeah.
At least if you have them one mounted and ready to go, somebody can bring you a tire and you can change it,
Right.
Trust me, tires. So, and, but it was interesting because I've been looking and I got a couple of buddies that they literally hang out at the junkyard, at the local junkyard, and they call you. They'll call you and say, you want me to grab this part? They're like gun for hired, you tell them what you want and they hang out there waiting for one to come. And and they pick them quick, they're they charge you and they pick them. So
right.
I was like, I'm looking for a set of rims, and he said, man, those are like one of the first things that go. It's hard.
Yeah, you got lucky.
Got good. That, and I can mount them because I keep a couple tires at one of my buddy's shop, and usually he's like centered in my area. So if I have a problem and if I can limp it there or get it there, then I can change a tire.
That's good.
Or he could bring it home if I'm home. Won't be the first time I had to break the spoons out.
Oh man!
Actually, it's a lot easier on the bigger tire than.
Yeah, no, I know even from breaking down tires, the ones with the regular sidewalls are a lot easier to mount and dismount than the smaller ones.
Yeah, it was funny because when I put new tires on the John Deere on the tractor, I was like, "Oh, this is easy, man." You want to talk about wearing my ass out trying to put those 4 tires on that tractor tire, you know, because you're only talking a little tire and you think you just want to pop it. Oh my God, that was a heck of a venture.
Last couple of years, I was bringing stuff down to the shop and just because we had a time machine, dismounting them. But I had a set of N5015s, Mickey Thompsons, on a set of Anson Sprint aluminum, deep aluminum rims, and I wanted to keep the rims, so I brought them down to the tire shop that I use. I usually get my inspections there, and I gave them to the tire guy. I said, "Hey, do me a favor, just break these down. I just want the rims." "Oh yeah, no problem, no problem." He worked on those things like 45 minutes, man, because they were mounted since the 70s.
Wow.
And yeah, he just couldn't dismount those wheels. It really fought him.
Wow.
So
that's when you get the old saw out and start cutting.
Yeah, I was glad it was him, not me. I said, good. That's why I'm giving you a tip. I said, I'll throw you a couple. I'll throw you the money. Give me my rims. I'm taking them home.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. So.
In fact, let's see here. So how'd the week go? Was were a lot of guys out?
Yeah, it was a crazy. I mean, it was pretty crazy, and it's, you know, of course, you know, with Monday it kind of throws you. I mean, everybody was off. You know, it's like, hey, what are you doing here? You know, and it's like, you know, but it was a little off this week. Of course, it always is at the first of the month anyway. So I'm hoping, hopefully I can, well, it'd be all right. I mean, it was funny. I was talking to one of my officer friends, and he's I said, hey, what happened to all those Mach-E's?
Right,
you know,
right.
Because the county bought a whole bunch of them. And he's like, yeah, they don't really hold up.
Yeah.
He said, they don't have enough power because, you know, we need, you know, they have like, they can only sustain 15, and we need something like 45 and
right.
Crazy. And that's like our county also bought, you know, I don't know, 250. I don't know how many but they bought a lot of electric school buses.
Oh, geez, really?
And yeah, and they're sitting over in one of our depots because they have no way of charging. They have no charging stations, no place to park them. Not, you know. So one of my places, I go to two of the bus terminals, school bus terminals, and one of them they got all dug up now because they're running electronic. You know, they're running the power source to have for plugs.
You know, there's a guy I watch on YouTube. He's a CPA, financial advisor, does a lot of retirement stuff. He's got good ideas. I just watched the video today. He was talking about how he had a Tesla. He was talking about ways you can save money in retirement. And, you know, one of them would be like downsize on your vehicle or on certain things. And he says, I had the money, so I bought this car and it was nice. And, then you got to charge it. He goes, so I had a charging port put in and did all of that. And he says, it was costing me more than my gas car. He goes, I know people don't want to hear that. He says, but it was not as efficient when you look at the price. And apparently his insurance was higher too.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the battery. He's the first guy I heard talk about that.
Yeah.
But he said that one day
parts.
Right. Because if it burns in your garage, so he said he was pulling out into an intersection and he was looking and he saw a car coming one way, but he didn't see the car coming the other way. And when he pulled out and he just clipped this guy, because I just clipped him with my bumper. He goes, didn't do a lot of damage. He says, but when my car got brought in, he says, I found out that all the electronics are in the bumpers of those cars. So that can't be 100% right. And I realize this guy doesn't understand cars. He's a CPA, but he said basically it was enough to total the car. I'm like, wow, it totaled the Tesla? Now, he didn't say he ripped the bumper off, but he said that everything just got tweaked enough and shoved over enough where it totaled the car. He says, and then he calculated out what it was costing him, and it saved him like $6,000 a year by going to a regular, like Japanese SUV.
Yeah.
Like, now he goes, I had the money, I was able to afford it. He goes, but for other people who are driving high-end cars, he goes, that could be a big difference in, in living, and buying food.
Yeah.
Says, so you want to think about that if you're driving a high-end car like that,
Yeah, well, it's crazy because, like I said, I listened on Saturday morning. They had that John Clay Wolf, and he's the Give Me the VIN guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the biggest seller, retail, used car seller, and he was talking, they were talking about electric cars in general. And he's saying, that there's there's a huge secondary market right now for that. He said, because of when they first came out, there were so many people on the bandwagon about, saving the world and doing the right thing and buying these things, but they didn't fit into their lifestyle. Right. It's not like you just jump in the car and you take off and go to the mountains. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or you get in the car and it's great to run around town or at the grocery store and drop the kids off at school, but
sure,
when you just don't jump in that. And a lot of people were like, dude, we can't, you can't go on a 4-hour cruise because of the situation, or, a lot of these guys, a lot of them people that I know that talk about it, you charge it up and then you go sit in traffic for 45 minutes and you're just watching your meter go down. It's the same thing. It's just like the gas gauge moving, it's
sure.
And, but I thought that was kind of interesting that, the people, there was, like you said, a handful of people jumping into them thinking that they're doing the right thing and realize it's not in their lifestyle. We've talked about it or I know, like I said, it's come up a few times, and like I said, as much as I'm, like I said, it wouldn't be bad, like I said, just to run around town here, but I'm not going to jump in it and go to the beach or travel all over the place unless you can, you had to plan out your whole route,
Oh, this is funny. The other day when I did that carburetor, I followed Mike over to the guy's house. So he had his truck. He's driving an Avalanche that he bought new, which I guess is like a 2004.
Yeah.
Whatever. But, it's in great shape. And I got the FJ, and, he sold me the FJ. So we're in his Avalanche, and we were talking. And he says, he's been rotating his vehicles, and he had a new Dodge pickup that he had been leasing. He bought it out and sold. That was one of the ones he sold back to Carvana and made money on. So he's driving his older cars because he owns them already. So he says, I love this truck. He goes, my son's been bugging me like, why don't I do suspension work and this and that? He goes, this thing has the original shocks in it, all the original suspension. He goes, I've never done anything. He goes, and it rides great.
Yeah.
I was like, there's something to be said for that. I said, the FJ2, it's an 08. I said, and I've looked at it. I mean, the only thing I've done besides the brakes were the sway bar bushings, the links, because they were bad. I said, but I'm thinking about that thing's got the original shocks in it. I said, but when I get out and drive it, it rides fine. It doesn't clunk. It doesn't, it doesn't sway. Nothing's blown out. I said, so I'm just leaving it. I'm leaving it until I have to change something.
Yeah.
He says, I think too many people change parts just for the hell of it. And I'm like, I think so too. Yeah. So we go to a deli, good German deli that we both know, and talking about how prices have gone up. So I order a tuna on a roll, salt, pepper, lettuce, tomato. That's a New York thing, I think. He orders a turkey on a roll with lettuce and tomato. He gets a quarter pound of what do you get? Like coleslaw, I got a half pound of rice pudding. We get 2 small juices. Yeah, I threw a $20 bill up on the thing, and then when he ordered the side, I'm like, give me the right. All right. I said, probably need more money, so I put another 20 up there.
$56 later.
I got back $11.10 change. It was $29 for lunch for 2 cents. I mean, don't get me wrong. In between that roll,
Yeah.
it was this thick. I mean, it was his turkey and my tuna. I mean, tuna's cheaper, but the turkey. So it was a healthy sandwich. But I'm like, $29 now?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Would I break a window on the way in? A surcharge for waiting?
Yeah. That's
damn, man.
I had a guy, he came out and wanted a pair of boots, and we have they're Australian, they're redbacks.
Right.
Very good boots. Comfortable. You want to talk about getting your mileage out of them, they're very, whatever the bottom of them are, I got a pair that's 8 years old that I'm wearing now, and I've got another pair that's 16, that they look ugly, but they are they're just really comfortable shoes,
Right.
So he goes, I need a pair of shoes, and like I said, they were like $165, and he goes, are they the same price? And I said, no. And I said, regular price is like $230. And I sell them for $190, and he goes, they went up that much. I mean, it was like, he goes, I just wanted a second pair. I bought mine a year ago. And I said, well, that's just,
So look,
coming out of
skin.
Australia and the whole kangaroo leather. I mean, it's just,
kangaroo skin went up. There's a premium on it.
Yeah, it's
Some
crazy.
armadillo boots cheaper.
But all that stuff, it's funny, and it's funny how some of it, even just the little stuff, the price is just unbelievable. And I asked him, I said, well, do you want a pair? And he goes, man, I don't know. He goes, this was just I just wanted to get a second pair.
We'll tell them, look, now's the time to do it, because if they go up again, you're going to be really kicking yourself in the ass.
I said, dude, I've told you, I tell every guy that's on my truck, when they pick something up and say, I don't know, I think I know, I said, you better, because A, it might not be here next week, and who knows what I'm going to get it in, and second of all, the price is just going to go up, dude. It ain't,
Sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And like I said, some of that stuff, it's funny. And then other stuff, you look at, and I know there's been a price thing, but you look at the Hot Wheel, right? I mean, they've been 99 cents forever.
Right.
And of course I go through some of my stuff, of course I've been collecting since, forever. I mean, and some of them will say, 85 cents or whatever, what I'm saying? But I'm like, something like this and all that time being the same forever. And it was funny when Dollar Tree, the dollar store, they went to $1.25 on everything. So their cars went up, and you should see the people on the internet, on the forums. Oh my God, $1.25 for a Hot Wheel. I said, dude, you've been paying 99 cents forever, Yeah.
I remember, what hit me is when gaskets took a jump a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, valve cover gasket is going to cost me $30. What are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's like an engine set. What's an engine set cost now? Like $250?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff, some of it's just crazy. And like I said, it's been the same forever. And then all of a sudden, you something like that just jumps up. And
well, it's like I've been going food shopping now. My wife's been going every week with her, and I'm seeing we played a game of like we guess how much the basket's going to cost us. It's like I can kind of go by weight now. I'm like, okay, I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I do the grocery shopping, and it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. So I don't know, Ray.
Even
It's
like
definitely
fruit and vegetables went up. Like everything is just
yeah.
crazy, man. Like
Somebody said something the other day to me, and I was like, "And your gas, you know, because I mean everything on this truck's going up," and I said, "Just like gasoline, right?" He goes, "Well, I guess you're right," and I was like, "Dude,
yeah.
it's all
But
crazy."
it's funny because, like I said, my daughter had friends over. There was like, was it one, two, three guys, three other girls? I guess it was about 6 or 7 of them. And they went out and picked up everything. But like, when they're all like around 25 now. So, but to see them come in, they came in with like 8 packs of hot dogs and like 4 boxes of hamburgers and all these rolls. And like, how many people are you having over here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I gotta get the ice and all the White Claws and the beer and this and that. And then I'm like, I remember doing that. Like, you just like pull your money, like someone goes shopping. You're just like, yeah, give me this, give me that, give me this. And of course, I came out toward the end. They were out on the deck, and that's I had a Jenny made me a margarita before she left. Because then they were actually going to somebody's party, a 4th of July party, but they pre-partied at my house. I think they really didn't like the person over there as much, so they wanted to get it all in over here, and they were in the pool and everything. So I came out, and I had my big glass, heavy glass margarita glass, and I had my cigar ready to go. And one of the guys, now he's a city cop, one of the girl's boyfriends. He's like, "Whoa, wow, you get the glass, huh?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what." I said, "Yeah." I said, "When your name is on the deed, you get the good shit." I said, "So I get the glass." I said, "I get the drink made for me." I said, "And if I wanted to light my cigar, I'll have him come over here and light my cigar for me too." He's like, "Nice, that's the way to do it." I'm like, "Yep."
That's funny.
And they're coming back again this weekend, I heard, because they liked it here so much. It was, like, nobody's bothering them, and they had a good time. So meanwhile, we had all the extra food, of course. So like, we're making hamburgers last night. We're throwing them on the grill, hot dogs too. I'm like, oh, sure, yeah. So I told Jenny, I said, do you want this stuff like for next week? Are you going to save it like, for that? She goes, no, we'll get all new stuff. I'm like, okay. All right. We're barbecuing.
And that ain't cheap.
No, I know. But like I said, it reminded me when I was that age, and you just like, you'd throw money in a hat and somebody would just go out and get whatever, the beer and the hot dogs and hamburgers. It's like, yeah, sure. You don't care. Who cares? They're looking at rent. They want to go out to Montauk in like Labor Day. And they're talking about renting a house. Like Lewis Lee was talking about a house. But they're going to have like, what did she tell me? 14 people. It's gonna be like $700 a person.
Oh my God!
Well, it's Montauk, And I said, "What are you out of your mind?" I was like, for a few days. I was like, I mean, I know you got now a good job and you're still living at home, but like, come on, kid, rein it in a little. Like,
that's when you say, "Okay, I'll rent you." I mean, 700 here. You guys, you like it here. Me and Mama will stay down at the Holiday Inn for 3 days.
Oh, I'm telling you.
And you still make money on that, right?
Exactly. And then I say, you know what? God bless. You're only young once.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't even think about doing that now. I don't care where the hell it is. If it was Bali or Paradise, I don't give a shit. So you know what? Like I said, I'll stay in the roadside inn. I'll stay in the motel. Now, my wife won't, but I would.
Yeah.
And you just need a clean place to sleep and and a coffee pot, and I'm good.
They I don't know. I made a comment one time about we'll just sleep in the car. And man, I got that look. I don't think so. And I'm like,
So how was what was the prognosis from the big trip? Everybody had a good time?
Yeah. They had a good time, and they all came back speaking to each other. So good. That was pretty much. And
did you even look at how much it set you back yet, or you're not going to bother? No, don't. Yeah, no. I wouldn't either. I was telling the girls about that. I said, "Hey, guess where Brian's women went?" And they're like, "Well, we want to go there." I'm like, "Well, go see Brian first. Go hang out there, and maybe he'll send you." I said, "Because I'm not sending you."
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey.
Can't. It's all on them.
Yeah.
So, but that was part of that the Disney package deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They've done a cruise. You know, Disney's all wrapped up in all kinds of stuff, but they stayed at I don't know what it was, but there's like a water park or something. And you know, Jenny saves up her points, and that's why every 2 years, and it works out like, you know, the place that they're staying at's almost free. So I mean, they're, you know, here lately, once the girls got bigger, you know, it's a little bit more money because of travel wise. You know, they're taking a plane or a boat someplace.
Sure.
Instead of.
I'm just thinking about like what it costs to eat over there.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, man, dude,
I can reported. You know.
I mean, like I said, I don't even want to know.
No,
I mean,
no.
It's, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, it's bad enough. It's bad enough even here just you know, like you said, running into the deli there, and you know, you drop, you know, $30 on 2 people. That's over $15.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy. I have one deli that I really like, and I don't know. I try not to be this way, but you know, it was like after 20 years of going to this place, it's like you walk in the place, they're already making your sandwich, you know, because you know, I get to, and it's like I lay down the money to pay, you know, and she's like, "Oh, it's a little bit more." And it's like, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
how much little?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we went from, and then I started thinking, it's like, well, we went from 8 to 10 to 12, and now it's 15.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good sandwich.
No, I just said that to Linda too. I said, you know, I remember like back in the day, you know, you go out for lunch. I remember it was like, you know, $6 or, you know, 5, 6, and it was 8, and it was like 10 was like in the city, you know. I said, but now it's 15, you know. I was like, and that wasn't extravagant either. I mean, holy shit, you know, it's like, man, it's like if you do that every day, you know, it's adding up, you know.
Oh yeah. I you know, like I said, I got
$75 just for sandwiches for a week. Yeah.
I got I've got one. Let's see here. We got Monday, Wednesday, and sometimes Thursday. Those are really the 3 days that I eat out. You know, I got the one deli, and Wednesday I got a food truck. Man, killer tacos, dude.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Oh God, it's just
tacos tonight. Yeah.
And Thursday there's another food truck, and like I said, it really comes down to time. You know, if I get there too late, I won't. You know, it's too late for me to eat. Or not too late for me to eat. It's just that, you know, if I eat at 4:00 and I get home and fix dinner, you know, I'm saying it's just, you know, I'm not really hungry for dinner, but everybody else is waiting. So
yeah.
And then there is another. It's Vietnamese Mexican fusion type thing.
That's getting big up here too.
Man, these guys are killer, but these guys are their food truck is like, when I say it's mobile, these guys travel from Virginia all the way up into DC. I mean, they travel all over the place.
Wow.
And so there's like a rotational thing. And it's like every 3 weeks, give or take 15 to 18 days, they're somewhere in my area so that I can hit those guys.
Right.
But I keep telling them they got, but they travel. They got these they also got these biscuits, I guess. They're muffins, but they're infused with like fried chicken or something. And it is like the craziest thing. You look at it and you're like, it's a muffin, and you bite into it and it's like, how in the world? I mean, it's even got the chicken grease, the fried chicken grease coming out. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how they do it or what, but
that's wild.
That's a hell of a truck. And
yeah.
But hey, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Eating there, you ain't getting anything off that truck for $25 or less, dude.
Wow.
I mean, you're paying. I mean, if I eat there, that means that's it for the rest of the week,
Yeah.
I can't even say that, but I usually take a sandwich or leftovers, but it's real quick. You can spend, like I said, if you're spending $15 to $18, 5 days, that's a lot of money real quick.
It adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
bloody shit.
I don't know.
I know one of my buddies, now that another one of these retired auto crimes cops I'm friends with, he's another drummer. He just went to Alaska for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
They took a cruise, yeah. So he just got back, I think, in New York today. And he sent me an email. He says, yeah, listen, we'll have to get together. We'll have breakfast. Because now, he's like the breakfast club. I'll be in like the breakfast club with him. So I said, yeah, Rick, my schedule's open. Just let me know when you want to go. We'll go and, we'll get breakfast. That's fine.
I'd love to do one of those.
He's the guy I did that one barrel for. He's got that 60. That's a 67.
66.
A 6, yeah. Now, Mike took a car in. I got to work on it next week. It's a 67 Mustang.
Oh, yeah?
He says, I don't know if you want to work on it. If you do, you can. He goes, otherwise, I'll do it. He goes, the guy, apparently the car was kind of already finished, but the guy wanted like the Ford letters put on the hood.
Oh, yeah.
And they should be like pinned, right? I mean, it shouldn't be glue on. It should be pinned.
No, they should be. Yeah, they're pinned. They got the barrel clip things.
Yeah. It sounded like stupid shit, like the Ford on the hood. I said, he needed the sun visors put in. I'm like, hey, that's all clean work. I said, yeah, I could be down for that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Because I'll bring it to the shop. I'm thinking, good. And when we film it, I'll put duct tape over all of the names. I even saw it.
Go on.
I couldn't catch it fast enough. But there was an episode maybe this week, where there was a boat, and they actually covered the name of the boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, those producers were really they had some serious protocol, man.
Yeah, when you do the headline, when you do the visors, you got to be really careful, because it's got a lot of times it's like a it's like a triangle piece of sheet metal, piece of metal off of the frame. Off the roof, and they usually get stripped.
Oh.
And that's the problem. And it's got to fit, like when you put them up there, and especially if somebody put a headliner, and you gotta exit, you gotta do that without, and of course it's stretch rule there. So if you cut it, it wants to split the headliner. It's a real, it's kind of a little bit of a touchy area. You want to be careful because because that has a real sharp, not a sharp, but a radius bend, with the headliner.
Right.
Because if they did the headliner right, if they did it the way it's supposed to be, because you got to pull the windshield, and the headliners are wrapped up underneath the thing. And a lot of times, if they don't do that, then there's enough play. It's not tight. It's not super tight. But I know that if you take your blade and cut it, it'll split that. It'll split it, and man, that thing will, and then it just rips.
So for the strip holes, make sure I bring a good assortment of real short number 10 wood screws.
Yeah.
Just crank them in there.
I was talking to one of my customers today, and he had used one of the body shops in my area.
Yeah.
And they're fast and cheap,
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, he goes, I guess it was an Escalade. I think he said it was his Escalade. He was changing the headlight or something and had to take the dash out. I mean, not the dash, but the
header panel.
The
bumper
grill area, whatever, And he's like, he looked at it and realized, he goes, that's a funny looking. He goes, that's just a Phillips. That's kind of weird. So he gets out his power, his cordless drill, cordless thing, and puts his Phillips bit in there and starts screwing. And it was like a 4.5-inch sheet metal.
Nice.
He was livid, man. He was like, what the F do they do? So they ran, I guess they couldn't find, and they did like the sheetrock, drywood, drywall.
No, guys will use whatever they have.
Oh, yeah, dude. I said, well, that's the problem when you want it cheap and fast,
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's crazy. So I had another Tuesday. I was subpoena for district court.
Really?
Yeah, I had back in like early 2019. I had a car. The lady was drunk and she came across the double yellow and hit a telephone pole. And of course I stopped, and this other lady had stopped, and actually I thought she hit the guy on the bicycle, because there was a guy with a bicycle there. Yeah. And so of course, they took my name, and of course I get subpoenaed, and so it got postponed because of COVID, and then it got dragged out and this and that. And so like in March, I think it was March, April. Yeah, March was the court date, So the state attorney guy calls me and said, hey, just want to see what you saw and what, if I need you or not.
Yeah.
So I said, look, dude, it's been, 2 years.
Right. Well, 19, it's almost, it could be 3.
And I said, when I got this, I even had to look up the address, and I kind of remembered what it was. I said, hey, I know this chick hit the telephone pole and she was drunk, but dude, I couldn't even pick her out. I wouldn't even know what she looked like, or, and I'm a car guy and I can't remember what kind of car it was. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, well, she pretty much, said that she was under the influence, and to the arresting officer. So she goes, I don't need you. You're okay. So don't worry.
Good.
So I said, all right. So that was March, April, May. So June, I get another subpoena. So I was like, man, I said, damn, it's the same thing. Maybe, well, I don't know. I'll call him. Of course, I don't call him right then and there.
Right.
So like 3 weeks go by, and I was like, I got that thing in July. I need to call. So I called, left a message, never heard from him. So I'm like, man, what do I do? Do I not go? Because he told me, but they sent this paper out, and you don't show up. You're just, they're going to, your name's on the list, you know?
Put a bench warrant out for you.
Yeah. So of course it was the district courts in my area. So, I mean, I was, so I said, all right. So I go down, it starts at 9 a.m. Court starts at 9. So I get down, thank God I found a place to park the tool truck,
Oh, yeah.
So I squeeze the tool truck in, I jump out, I'm getting ready to throw money in the meter. And they said, no money needed till 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'm like 1 block over from the courthouse, So I'm like, I'm supposed to be there at 9.
Yeah.
And of course, the meter doesn't turn on till 9, you know? And I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting. Of course, I hear the meter turn on. So I'm dumping quarters in, And I get to $2.50 and it starts beeping at me, And I'm like, what the hell? It was only 1 hour for $2.
Oh, wow.
It was only a 1 hour meter. I'm like, I can't win. So I said, that's it. I'm just got to go and I got to keep track of time. And, I'll just have to tell them I got to go put money in the meter, There's just, I can't find another place to park the truck. So I run in, go through all the security, get up to the room. The judge is going through her whole spiel about how the court system works and what they're there for and blah-de-la-de-la-de, on and on and on. So I'm like looking around the room, I said, man, I can't remember what this chick looks like,
Yeah.
Going around looking. And so she starts up and, man, she's just blowing through people because there was tons of people. No show. Bench warrant arrest, bench warrant. And I'm like, okay. And so they called her name.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, good. It's because it was her last name started with a G. So it was fairly early in the docket. I mean, there was like 5 pages,
Yeah.
going through. And I said, I can't be here all day.
Right.
So, well, the funny part is she's sitting right next to me.
Oh, wow.
I'm like looking around and they said, is so-and-so here? And she goes, I'm right here. And I'm like, oh shit, man. I'm sitting right next. I'm like, okay, this is old black lady. I mean, elderly black lady, And I'm like, holy crap. I said, that was her?
Yeah.
All right. So she gets up there.
Good thing you didn't have to pick her out of a lineup.
Yeah, I know. I was like crazy. So it even gets funnier here or better because they get up there and the lawyer's sitting there and the judge is talking and the judge asked the state attorney chick, is the rest, where's the arresting officer? Well, he's not here yet. And she's like, well, we start at 9 o'clock and, everybody's supposed to be here. So I'm going to give you 15 more minutes. And it'll be 9:30. So I'm like, okay, now because I try to turn my cell phone on and I get the tap on my shoulder. No cell phones. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't have any clock. I mean, there's no clock in here, dude. I mean,
Wow, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like, God, okay. So it's 9:15. The judge said so it'll be 9:30. I'm trying to keep track of time because I got, the tool truck sitting out there on only a 1 hour meter, So I started noticing that there was a runner for the state attorney chick. There was a helper or paralegal guy,
Yeah.
Well, the funny part was when they were asking for the arresting officer and he wasn't there, the judge said, is there any witnesses?
Uh-huh.
And the state attorney said, no, there's no witnesses.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. So I noticed this dude running back and forth. So I slid over to the end of the aisle and he ran by. I was like, hey, I got a question to ask. And he's like, what? And I said, well, I got subpoena for this thing. And he goes, well, where did you get that? So what do you mean, where did I get this?
Yeah.
You mailed it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, so I said, back in March, I talked to somebody from the state's office and they said they didn't need me, but you guys still sent me this. So I don't know what to do.
Right.
And I said, I got like 20 minutes left on a meter out front with my truck. So we got to decide on what we're doing. So he goes, wait a minute. So he goes up to the state attorney chick and she's like, looks at it and goes, where'd you get this? And I'm like, well, it was mailed to me. I mean, I'm on a forged document. I just want to do this.
Cookie when I went out to dinner.
Yeah. So she looks back at me, and and I come up and she goes, "Where did you get this?" I said, "Well, you mailed this to me." And I said, "I talked." She goes, I got called and they told me they didn't need me. She goes, "Well, who did you talk to?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know what the guy's name was. I didn't pay any attention, or I didn't write anything down." And she's like, "I'll just sit tight." And I said, "Look, I got about 20 minutes left. I got to go feed a meter." I said, "I just got to know what I got to do, you know?" So 9:30 came, and the judge went back and said, is the officer here yet?" And she goes, "Oh, he'll be here real soon." And she's like, "It doesn't work this way."
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the other guy, the guy that was running back and forth, he looked over at me and said, "Get out of here."
Nice.
And I was like, "I'm out." So
Good.
I'm sure she walked. I mean, she probably got away.
Right.
So that guy probably never showed up. But
Yeah.
I tell you, it was crazy. I cannot tell you how many people that were there for not having a driver's license.
Really?
And in the state of Maryland, not having a driver's license is 60 days in the hole and 5 points.
Wow.
So
wait, how can you get points if you don't have a license?
Well, so that's what I asked my officer buddy today. I was like,
Okay.
dude, I was at district court the other day. And he's like, "What were you doing there?" And I told him, but I said, "What's the deal with the 5 points?" And he goes, "Well, this prevents you from getting a driver's license."
Oh, yeah.
Because when you go to apply, these things are waiting to be stacked on so that you start out with, he goes, "That's why, like, if you're driving, like you drive without a license, if you're driving without a license and you have an accident, you get 5 for, not having the driver's points. You get 3 for the violation. So you're at 8 points. There's no way you can get a driver's license.
Right.
Or insurance,
Yeah.
So that was another thing. Cause like no driver's license. And if you had no insurance, that was 120 days in the hole.
Wow.
And so I could not get over. And these were like, 50-year-old ladies, Spanish ladies, you know what I'm saying? That get busted and, they have no driver's license. I mean, I just could not get over how many. I was like, God, this is insane.
Yeah, when you spend a day in the court like that, you see all sorts of stuff that goes on every day, but you never see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So there was damn, I can't remember. But I was like, so I got out of there like at 9:45, got down, and I, because I was like, dude, they, they're harsh with the parking, parking, getting tickets.
Right.
Every time, I usually don't have too much of a problem, but when we get a new meter made down there, until he realizes that I'm there, all like I said, he kind of get to know people and kind of get the clearance or whatever. But that was crazy, and I was being in court like that.
Yeah. Well, at least it worked out good for you. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and so the cop friend, he was funny because I told him, how I got in, why I was there. He goes, "Well, that will be the last time you stop." And I said, "Man, I can't." The problem is the area that I'm in so many places and on the road that, and I hate to say it, I've actually taken down my camera.
Oh, yeah.
My windshield camera. Because I had that happen. I had a lady coming across, and the guy ran a red light and T-boned her right in front of the tow truck. I mean, they spun out, and one of them stopped right in front of it. I mean,
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I get out and help her, and she had a little kid, and the other guy is all running around pissed off. And of course, I say, if you would have just slowed down a little bit, that would, doing Mach 1 through here, and he's like, well, how do you know how fast I was going? Of course, then he sees my camera, and then, I'm like, well, there. And of course, when the cop showed up, he's like, does that thing work? I said, no.
Yeah.
I was like, God.
Yeah.
Can't you try to be a good? That's why nobody stops anymore, because you get tied into all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you who is going to stop. It's going to be us.
Oh, that's it. We finally made it over the 3.
Yeah, the court story took us over.
That's it. All right, Ray.
All right. So for Lewis Lee, Greg Guarino, Macho Man Brian, we'll be back next week, and maybe we'll have some rollover guests. I'll get some of the guests from Motormouth Radio. We'll bring them over here. Like I said, Tom Farmento, he's great. The stunt man, he's phenomenal. And Steve Linden will be good too. He's a great appraiser and a collector, so he knows the hobby inside and out.
Yep, that would be awesome.
So what do I say to the people who are going to be outside waiting when I take the garbage out?
Don't follow you home.
They don't follow me back in, right?
Don't follow you back in, unless you got some of those snacks.
Yeah, and if you got really good snacks that are expensive, we can trade. So if you come across anybody who's like I said, we could make some deals here.
Yeah, I'll ask a couple. I mean, I've had people ask me for them, and
did you want to take the part number down?
Yeah, let me. Yeah, what's the part number?
TER. That'd be Tara Edward Robin 3. FUA Frank Umbrella Apple.
Yeah, I'll let you know, Rick, because actually, to be honest, it was about it was before the pandemic. I had a guy actually stop, and he wanted one. I think it was 3/8 he wanted.
Yeah.
But I know my transmission guys like that.
I'm already thinking, like, I don't have a beam style wrench anymore. I should probably keep one of these just to do if I got to do pinion preload.
Yeah. Or if you start working on German cars and you need your turning torque.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
That could be your next punishment.
Right.
Setting up ring gears and 911 transmissions.
Oh, that's right. Matt Stone. We're gonna have Matt Stone too. I'll get him on here. He's great. He's a great guest. Yeah. Hey, but you know what? If they start selling well,
that's it.
Turn them into green.
That's it. Get them out.
Yep.
10 of them.
Got too much stuff. Too much junk. So, all right. So
all right, Ray. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you. What Sunday? Who do you got?
Steve Linden, the auto appraiser and collector.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going to come in the studio with us. So, he's a longtime friend. That's the guy who was the editor. I worked for him when we wrote for Hemmings. He became like the chief editor, and they told him to hire like 5 sub editors to do specialty stuff, and I was one of the 5 that he picked.
Oh yeah.
So I actually worked under him for a while.
That's good.
And then he kept his main business and all.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can't wait. So.
All right.